looks like about to set up, and then Vanessa, you're going to want to take a look and make sure that we're rolling in the Women in Horror page.
Not yet.
Okay. And let's see. We're there. Okay, you can click on it at the top of the page. Do you want to pin that?
Yes.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first inaugural show of our Hellbent for Horror Takeover. And now let's just hand that over to the amazing Vanessa Wright.
Yes. Hello. This is our this is a wild experiment we're doing, but we thought it would be a lot of fun, especially given the fact that so many of us are still stuck at home. So we wanted to invite our super cool friends to join us and talk all things horror. And since we have a nice little group going, I'm actually going to kind of go around here if everybody wants to just introduce themselves. State your name and your business, please. Jenna. I'm sorry. Yes, I'm looking at this in a different way. Jenna, you may go first.
Hello. Hi. I'm Jenna Kanell. I'm an actor and stunt performer and a filmmaker. And my what was the other thing? My business here?
Yes.
I will be collecting one soul by the end of this call, but I will not reveal who that will be.
Nice.
Nice.
I love it.
Yes. Adam.
Ooh. Hi, I'm Adam Marcus. I am a writer, director, producer. I'm a tinker, tailor, soldier, spy. And you'll know me from the only one of two people that's ever done a Friday the 13th movie and a Texas Chainsaw movie. What else does anybody want to know about me? And it's groovy to be here completely.
Love it. Love it. Love
So
it.
groovy.
Debra.
Ooh, I'm Debra Sullivan. I'm the other half of Marcus and Sullivan, Skeleton Crew Pictures. I'm an actor, a screenwriter, and a producer. And I happen to be married to that handsome devil there in the black and red.
Good thing I changed my
Nice.
shirt.
Yeah, right. Who is that guy? Who's she talking about? What is that?
And the lovely Allie.
I'm Allie Rivera. I am an actress, voiceover actress, and producer. And I work frequently with, sorry, long day. I work frequently with Adam and Deb at Skeleton Crew, and also one of the producers on Hearts of Darkness.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
yes,
she is
we'll
a
be sharing
badass.
the link
Yes,
for
we
that
will be
for
sharing.
anybody who wants to know more about that. And we'll probably be talking about it a
Awesome.
little bit because it's super cool. Yeah.
Magnificent.
So
And
this
I
is
am the co-host here.
yes, please.
Uh-oh, Vanessa, did you just freeze?
I'm on.
And I just want to
yeah,
introduce
it's like
myself.
something's getting glitchy.
Uh-oh. We're going to Blair Witch
It must
Project
be
this thing.
because there are so many people flooding
That's
the
right.
airwaves.
So many people
Trying to
are
watch
coming
this.
back.
Right.
We
That's
broke
right.
the internet.
It's just Helm's Deep on this Zoom call. They're just
I like that. I like the idea of it being Helm's Deep. I want to be the guy that just goes,
That's good.
flee, leave your posts and flee. it's my idea of good management. So I am S.A. Bradley. I'm the host of Hellbent for Horror, the podcast that reminds you that you used to love horror films and you secretly still do. And if you're here today, you probably still are openly admitting the very fact that you love horror films. I also have a book called Screaming for Pleasure, How Horror Makes You Happy and Healthy, which is a deep dive into all things horror and talks about how horror tends to find a way to change culture and how culture also changes as horror. I also make it a little bit personal as well. I also have a one-man show that I do called My Horror Manifesto, which basically takes on the idea of all these movies that make it to the Oscars and then suddenly are no longer horror movies. They're thrillers or political thrillers or whatever they want to call them, psychological thrillers. I talk about how that's happened often in the world and in history. And I talk about how we have no shame. Horror does not need your shame. Horror does not owe you half of its sandwich. It has its own reason for existence, being the second greatest storytelling style ever created. The first one being drama, I'll give it to them. But at the same point, it is made for metaphor and it's been around forever. And it tells the story that you need because you need to do some shadow work, ladies and gentlemen. You need to look at that shadow and take a quick, healthy handshake. So
I was
boom,
just talking about that in therapy earlier. That's crazy.
Were you really?
Yeah, no,
Were you
actually,
really?
I'm not making a joke. Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. I'm not kidding on that either. I'm not stunned about that because I meet more and more people, and that's one of the reasons that I wrote the book. And by the way, somebody is not muted on the Facebook page because I'm hearing a repeat of it.
I'm hearing it
So
too.
if you can wear headphones,
Mine
I
is
don't know where that was
muted.
coming from. That's kind of surprising. Yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
not
sorry,
we do
folks,
have a
this is
few
the
people
first time
saying
out, so-
hello. So just
Get
some
in.
quick shout out joining us.
Oh,
Oh,
please do some shout out.
Doggy. Carrie Yates has tuned in. Larry, let's see, Christopher
Carrie.
G. Moore,
Hey,
Jason
Larry, how are
Thompson,
you?
Rosalind Maddox, Jason Bradford
wonderful.
so far. Yes, everybody say
Yeah,
hello.
Jason
We'll
Bradford
be
and Carrie.
Hello,
Hey, Carrie.
Jason Bradford. Hey, Carrie.
Yes. Well,
And we'll get
Jason, I
some of
believe
this
you were
in, I
trying to get in
know-
before.
yes,
if
a few
you'd like
people
to
have been
come
ringing
in.
the doorbell. We'll kind of get it going before we start jumping.
Yeah. We
In
will
the
start
mix
letting
here.
you in, but as of right now, we're still kind of in that introduction phase. So Larry Greenstein, I'm expecting to see you in here because I know you're going to have a lot to say, and a few others that have asked. I'd love to have you in there. We just want to slowly but surely get ourselves rolling on this and give you an idea of what we're doing here. As this has been posted in different places, this is almost like an after party. We've all gotten very used to having interview shows that are rather rigid. And one of the things that I think all of us who go to conventions love more than anything is the after parties, sitting at the bar, talking to like-minded people who are just a little bit more passionate than when it says it's time to last call. Last call doesn't stop our conversations, doesn't stop our minds. We just want to talk horror philosophy, the joys of horror, the comedy of it all, and whatever else we decide to talk about, just the idea of what it takes to do art. We haven't had that because we don't have any conventions happening right now. So we decided to try and reinvent that, bring it in here and have that conversation. Let it be loose. Let people have some fun. And that also means that we're going to be on a high wire act because we're going to allow you in here too, little by little. Hopefully this won't be like the last helicopter out of Saigon and it'll be a little bit of order in the chaos. But I'm assuming that we're going to have a lot of fun with this, and allowing that extra element in there is kind of the thing that I think is going to give us the spice because we want to hear from you. It's all about conversations. There are artists out there that would love to talk as well. We'd love to have you come in here. We want to have you promote your stuff. So I have pinned at the comment side of the Women in Horror Film Festival Facebook page where this is running live. There is a pinned message that has the rules of getting in here first off, and also the code to get in here to be able to be on. The first big rule on coming into the Zoom discussion is you have to have your video and audio turned on to join. We don't. You're going to come in and sabotage us. We're going to see the whites of your eyes before we blow you away. And any negging or hate speech or general ass hattery, that's going to get you booted as well. So say we all. And then the next is requests to join the live Zoom is going to be dependent on time and available openings. We also don't want to break the little system that we've got here. Who knows how much Zoom is going to be able to take today? Who knows how much Facebook's going to take? We're going to have fun with this, okay? And I hope that you guys intend to have fun as well. Horror filmmakers, artists, post those links to your work in the Facebook comment section. We want to promote you. We want other artists to be able to talk to each other, and that's what that chat's there for. If you come in here, you can also put the chat in here, but it's not going to be seen by as many people. Facebook Live, you're going to get a lot of traction on that. And questions in the Facebook comments, if you don't want to come in here, we'll still answer questions. Bear with us. We're literally doing this live. We got 2 people. We don't have anybody in the background doing our work for us. We're basically putting eyeballs everywhere, and we're going to try and get those questions answered. Anything that we can do to make this as much fun as possible, we certainly are going to do. So that's an intro that took way too long. So let's just roll in. Let's get some bar talk going.
And I will do my best.
I'm sweating for you.
Yeah, I started to sweat a little. I sweat anyway. But I'm going to do my best. I am monitoring the Facebook Live feeds. Just to let you guys know, my Zoom seems to be a little, what the kids say, laggy. So everybody's like moving in really weird slow motion. I can hear everything great, but if for some reason my ship goes down, I'm going to jump back in as soon as possible. So just putting that out there.
Just a quick question. Do the kids actually say laggy? Is that actually what the kids are saying? Is that?
I don't know. That's what I hear my son say. I had to steal his headset from his video game thing because I wanted the pilot thing. But yeah, I hear him going, "Oh, the game's laggy. It's lagging."
That's what the kids say.
Laggy.
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
All the kids are saying that.
I
Well, there we go. I had no idea.
Yes,
So before Jenna, you were talking about how you were in therapy and that was brought up. So that's literally one of the key reasons of why I ended up writing the book. It's because I would go to cons all the time, and I spend after hours time with folks, and they're sitting around and they're talking about movies, and then they start talking about themselves. And so many people had a therapeutic moment that happened, a first kiss with horror that kind of brought them through the genre and made them go, wow, I feel a little bit better after watching that. And in some ways, people think that it's they get a piece of control. It's a piece of chaos that they can control. They can turn it on or not turn it on, or turn it off, pause it, whatever. But if you make it through, you've actually controlled something in this crazy, twisted world. It's just also being able to deal with something in your life, accepting something that may be a little bit dark inside of you, accepting the fact that we all have a shadow side. So I heard that enough that I decided, I can talk a little bit about that in the book with my own story. And I love the idea of the first kiss, that there's a movie or a book that got you attached to this genre, something that just galvanized you. And a lot of times it happens when you're too young, you shouldn't be watching that. But I'll go around. Let's start with Jenna, since you brought this up. What was the first movie or book or song, whatever it might be, that you really excited you in this genre?
Oh man, I'm not sure. First of all, I love that chapter in your book. It's one of the first ones, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure what the very first one is. I mean, I remember the time when it happened. I remember that I used to have to stay home from school, the illness, with not any regularity, but anyway. Every time I would stay home by myself, because both my parents worked full time, I would watch horror movies, and that was when it started. Like horror movies would be playing on TV in the middle of the day, and I would watch them. And I do remember one of them, and I haven't watched it in a long time, so it might be embarrassing to admit, but I remember one of the first ones that I saw was Secret Window, the Johnny Depp movie. Have you guys seen that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of the first movies that I saw as a kid that I was like, this is fun. Yes. In the end, her death will be a mystery even to me. And I remember loving that movie so much. And so that made me seek out other films. And I used to, speaking of your shirt, Vanessa, walked to Blockbuster, or actually I rollerbladed to Blockbuster. That's how 90s I was. And
damn Skippy, you rollerbladed.
I would just sit in the horror section and just read the backs of movies that I knew I wouldn't be allowed to rent. I would just sit there and read the back of every single DVD or VHS, cover.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think we had so many probably similar, like Friday and Saturday nights sitting at a video store trying to pick our haul for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Is
yeah.
everybody here old enough to remember the video stores, or are we
Oh yeah.
dating
Just
ourselves?
barely.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I
I
helped
figured as
chauffeur
much,
them out
but
the
you never
door,
know.
unfortunately.
Let's see. We've got some people sharing some of their first movies.
Oh,
See,
great.
Jason Thompson, his first horror was Squirm.
Nice.
course it's a
Ooh,
movie I
70s
don't know.
Florida horror.
There's a lot that I
Great
don't know.
movie. Yeah.
Oh, Jason Bradford worked at
worms coming
Blockbuster.
up in Florida.
Ugh.
Oh, wonderful. What I'm going to do is
Oh, wow.
Larry Greenstein has been asking to come in, and I think I'm going to let him
Let
in.
that guy
Anybody
in.
else before I do that? Yeah. Anybody else want to give their first kiss? Adam, Debra?
Well, I wouldn't say my
First kiss
my
of horror?
first kiss, but well, my first real horror movie was The Pit and the Pendulum. It scared the fuck out of me, but
The Corman?
I loved it all at the same time. Yeah, the classic Vincent Price movie. But I remember going
Yeah.
to see Wait Until Dark, which is not particularly a horror movie, but I was sitting in the movie theater next to some very attractive young guy that I didn't know. And when he does what he does, and I'm not going to give it away, I jumped in this guy's lap. Literally jumped in his lap.
It's still,
So,
but to this day, it's still one of the greatest scares ever put on film. That moment,
Oh my God.
the likely
that
story.
and Exorcist 3. Those are the two.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are the two shockers
Yeah.
that you can't get around. It's amazing.
Yeah, in fact, I'm not sure, but that might be the first stinger of that type where the person you think has expired and they actually jump up one more time. I don't know if it had done prior to Wait Until Dark, which is just a great
spoiler
movie.
alert.
If you haven't seen it,
Yeah, you can't have a spoiler
I
alert on a
forget to
movie
do
that's
that for
over 50 years old. You
60-year-old.
can't really do that.
Yeah, it's like a 67-year-old
Yeah, there's got to be
film.
sort of like
And I didn't
statute
say
of
who.
limitations
Come
on
on.
that.
Yeah, I didn't say who. I didn't say anything like that. But yeah, that's one of the first that I can think
There's
of.
great there's great irony. There's great irony, however, because Deb's nickname around our house is spoiler alert. Because she tells the ending of everything.
So she's ready.
Everything.
So she's ready. That's,
I love it.
She really is.
sensitive to hear
I'm the
somebody
type
else.
of See, I'm the type of person that it doesn't matter if you tell me the ending or not, I'm still going to enjoy it. And I don't care, you haven't spoiled it for me. So that's just how I am.
Yeah.
That's a great
I see
attitude.
Shannon said hers was Poltergeist.
Okay.
That was also mine. I had seen some stuff before then that scared me and that kind of got me into wanting to see more scary stuff. But I was 8 years old and snuck with a friend at her house because her parents let her watch whatever she wanted. So at 8, we watched Poltergeist, and it scared the ever living shit out of me. And I had nightmares forever and did not want to sleep alone. And I had this hand. Do you remember when they would crochet the pillows and they would put like either a doll face in it or like I had one with a clown.
Yes.
And that removed from my room immediately. I was like, that thing is gonna wake up at night and eat me. And I've been chasing that scare.
We shared a room and they were on the shelf, just like, but like, because we had bunk beds, so they were like the height of the top bunk bed. Horrifying.
No.
Horrifying.
The thing that
That would
scared
freak
me as a
out
kid,
now.
that kind of nightmare. Yeah, I mean, the movie that I say is my first kiss is Nicholas Roeg's "Don't Look Now," which I saw way too young because my family is one of the original pilot HBO families back when they were trying to turn that into a national thing. And I saw it while my parents were going through divorce. We were in fundamentalist religion that was kind of a cult saying that the world was going to end in 75. And so everything was heavy. And I didn't realize how much I was messed up as a kid over that. And then I found myself watching this movie. I had nightmares for 3 days, straight. And my dad was like, "You're never seeing another scary movie." He didn't know what I saw. I didn't tell him what I saw because if I did, I'd be in big trouble. I was 8 at the time, I believe. And
That's a
later on, I
hardcore movie.
realized
The
that
magic
I needed to
age.
Yeah, watching the first 15 minutes of that, at first I'm going, well, it's because the kid drowns, right? But no, it's about parents can't save you. That's why I was so scared. My life was falling apart because my parents could do nothing. They were not going to save me. I had no idea if they were going to be around anymore. And that movie just kind of slapped me right in the face with all my id, and just said, here, you don't want to look at that? Now you're gonna. I had no idea that's what was happening, but I needed that movie again until I wasn't up against the wall every time I watched it. And even now, if I don't watch it for a while, watch that beginning, it still has a lot of power to it. So I want to bring Larry Greenstein in because he's been knocking on the door like crazy. I have to give a guy credit for being able to stick around. I know Larry does he was at the Women in Horror Film Festival this year. He was doing a live podcast there.
Yes.
And Larry, how are you? Well, I see you're connecting to audio. And any second now, but till then, the thing that scared me all is symbolism. That whole thing of you guys talking about dolls with faces. My dad was in the Air Force, and he came home from Korea with a little geisha doll. All right, Larry, good to see you.
Hello.
Actually, we got to see you. You want to be on? Luckily, we know who you are, but
where's your
video? Rules are rules, damn it. Don't make me bounce you. I'll bounce you. But my dad had a geisha doll in a glass case, and it was this beautiful, powder white, the whole thing, and it would stare at me. My dad didn't like. He took the doors off because I was always freaking out. So he took the doors off of my room. There was always like the light. No problem, Larry. There was always light coming into my room, and right across the hallway from my room was this dresser that had my. That's okay, Larry. We know who you are. Put your picture back up. Obviously, you're too beautiful for the camera. That's what's happening.
Something's happening.
It's destroying the camera. But
Larry broke
I had
Zoom.
nightmares that doll would get out. I had nightmares that doll would get out, and then I saw Trilogy of Terror. Nearly died. Finding out that dolls might actually be able to get up.
Oh my God.
So I always.
What about you, Adam? What scared you at a young age? Brought you into all this?
There was a confluence of moments where my parents also getting a divorce, so that's interesting. We were all down in DC for something. I have no idea what, some sort of celebration. And my brother and I, my younger brother and I, were left in a hotel room alone. I was 6. And Rosemary's Baby was playing on television. So a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old sat there watching Rosemary's Baby in its entirety while my parents were at a restaurant elsewhere. So that happened alongside the fact that my mother was starting to read Stephen King. And she would, at the dinner table, tell the chapters, which was great. Like, we loved it. My mom's a good storyteller. She was quite a remarkable story artist in her own right. And then she would get to the scary parts of the book and stop and go, yeah, you can't hear that part. So I, being the kid that I was, went, I need to know what that part is. I would then sneak into the library and pull the book and kind of leaf through to the point that she had stopped, and then I would read on. And of course, so then I got to read, like, his remarkable prose. I got to read the scariest stuff of his prose first off. And so between those two events, which were very closely linked, that was it. And speaking literary wise, my grandmother had a paperback copy of The Exorcist. And if you guys remember the spine of the paperback copy, it's a purple spine, and there's a brown photograph of Pazuzu, of the demon that possesses Reagan on the spine. And I couldn't look at it. Like, I had to avert my eyes as I passed the shelf, quickly pass it, because I didn't want it to get me. To jump off the bookshelf and get me. So yeah, so that was sort of the moments that kind of it totally would have. It totally, just like your crocheted clown was coming to get you, my grandmother's copy of The Exorcist was gonna get me. So yeah, that did it.
Which, by the way, my mom is watching, and she informed me that a friend of hers made those terrifying pillows, and that she got that for me. So thank you, Gloria, for that for that clown.
Once again,
So
your
was
mom
everybody
is
here a
simply
library?
badass.
Was everybody here a library hound? Someone who went to the and just got a bunch of books? Anybody else like that? I was that kid.
Yeah.
If so,
I worked in the
was there a
library.
book that you got scared of just by the cover? Ooh,
Oh.
nice. Any cover that just scared the hell out of you?
The original Jaws cover that the poster was based on, the black and white Jaws cover, where it almost looks like this kind of bullet from hell. That's an amazing, that's a terrifying cover. Yeah, that's actually creepy.
Yeah, you mentioned The
Yeah.
Exorcist, and there's a whole thing with me because my parents didn't want me to watch movies, but my dad was functionally illiterate, so he thought books were just boring homework. He had no idea what I learned. Like he gave me The Towering Inferno and The Glass Inferno to read because that movie was made out of 2 books, and I was a big fan of that. And there's sex scene after sex scene after sex scene in The Towering Inferno in the novel. So I got hooked books really, really fast. And I remember going, well, he won't let me see The Exorcist, but I'm going to read it. Reading it is really nasty. And I got the hardcover when it first came out, which was this blurry picture of a teenage girl. And I had to figure out how could I sleep with that in the house and hide it from my family. And I was like, can I put it in the closet? No, what if the closet door opens? Can I put it under? So I figured I had to put it under the bed, but I had to turn the face downward. So it was staring down at the carpet, not at my back. That's how much power I get. It was a fetish, the Zuni fetish itself. I had turned that image into something that was so powerful. Does anybody else have that kind of image?
I don't have that kind of image, but I have a great Exorcist story. I read the book too before I went and saw the movie, and I drugged my sister along with me, and I knew when all the horrible crap was coming. So we were both kind of like this through the whole movie, and then when I knew something horrible was coming, I go, "You look," and then she go, "How did you make me do that?" Just tortured her. It was great.
I do remember as a. Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay. Was yours about The Exorcist?
It was not. So
I want to hear about Allie's first kiss.
Yeah, come on, Allie.
The first, I really had to think about this because I think I blocked it out. I was so terrified. So I was really little, and we watched the Gremlins, and I was I watched it. We thought it was these cute little creatures, completely unsupervised up. And then I couldn't sleep with the lights off probably until I was 12, way too long. Always had a light on in the closet. And then I got really into the X-Files. Probably also again around 11ish. I was really, really into it, super geeked out on it. And there's this one character that it can go through the pipes, and it would come through the toilet, it would bite
the
you.
The fluke man.
Yeah. Horrified of that.
Yeah.
So I want to read this. I'm trying to pay attention to some of the comments. I'm sorry if I become a little lazy, but this is new.
That's what we got to do.
Carrie Yates just shared something uber creepy. She said, we had a real life aspiring Michael Myers stalking the area where I lived. He was stealing underwear from the washing lines, and one night he was caught swinging on my swing set in my garden with a mask and knife.
What? Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Right. Get in here.
Oh,
You must
That is
join us.
awesome.
That
By the
is
Carrie, it's 3 in the morning where she is, or 2 in the morning where she is right now, 2:30. Yeah, because she's in England.
Carrie doesn't.
Carrie, you want to come on in?
She's a fucking rock star.
I mean, if it's the witching hour.
She is a rock star. Carrie is a rock star.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. We do have a few people waiting to come in as well. Should we?
Yes.
Should we?
Yeah.
Should we let them in?
I'm gonna bring in.
You know what, Allie? On your Gremlins, on your Gremlin story. So when I grew up in a little town called Westport, Connecticut, which is about 40 miles outside of Manhattan. My dad lived in Manhattan. My mom was in Connecticut.
Yep.
And the movie theater we had in town was such that movies that were they wanted to test with an audience, they would actually bring to Westport and do these little sneak screenings. So they did that with Gremlins, right? So Gremlins going to show at the theater, and I knew about Gremlins because I had already read about it. I was all excited to see the thing. And so I go to this first screening, and by the way, like we would wait outside for like 6 hours to get into the movie, and play Trivial Pursuit on the sidewalk, for hours, right? Just all these movie geeks and our Trivial Pursuit game. Anyway, we go to see the movie. We're all flipped out by it. We freaking love it. We couldn't believe it was actually kind of a scary movie and a little more adult than what anybody had thought. And I noticed, because I had already started going to conventions and like, you know, seeing people that I admired, Chris Wallace, who created the Gremlins, was there. And his whole team was there, and they were wearing Gremlins jackets. So I was like, okay, this is fucking badass, right? Yeah. Well, there were other people in the audience who noticed that they had the jackets on too. And they followed them.
Sorry about that. Everybody good? That's
all
cool.
good.
Yeah.
We just had somebody unmuted, I think.
And
Speaking
they
of
followed
Gremlins.
them. They followed them to the bathroom, to the men's room after the movie. And there was a rumble in the men's room between Chris Wallace and his effects team and a bunch of angry parents that had brought their kids to see Gremlins and were pissed off that it was so scary. And I swear to God, I'm in the bathroom and there are literally effects guys flying across the room in their Gremlins jackets from parents smacking them around. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
That's
Yeah, I remember that. I remember.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I cheered. I was that really big, heavy metal, grumpy kid. Like, I'm tired of Spielberg. And so when I saw Gremlins, I was like standing and cheering in the theater, like, yes, someone took that formula and then went crazy. And I heard it was even worse than what the movie was, that they actually, cut quite a bit. So we have a couple people who came on. I want to give them a chance to ask a question, say something real quick. Lelia, I'm so sorry if I got that wrong. I'm going to unmute you and then have you say hi and tell us a little bit about what's going on. Go ahead, you're up.
I'm Lilia Koval. I wrote a trivia book on the first 9 horror movies of Friday the 13th. I told Adam Marcus about it, and I think you got a copy of it. I just want to quickly say hello.
I sure
I'm kind of busy tonight. I'm getting ready for a kitten tomorrow. I hope you like
Which
it.
is awesome. Congratulations about that. That's
Thank
amazing.
Cool.
Yeah,
That is
and
so
it was
awesome.
a dream
Thank you
come
for
true.
your
I
art.
love Friday the 13th so much. And I love all of y'all so much too.
It's a great book, Lilia. It's a great book.
Please, Lilia, if you haven't done it yet, make sure to put a post for it. Post a link to where people can get it in the comments, because I know you'll probably sell a few books here today, right?
Okay. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. I got to run.
Congratulations.
Bye.
Enjoy that
Thanks for
kitty.
joining us.
Bye, Lilia.
Bye-bye.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
And Jason, I see you sideways. it's like
You're
sideways
too.
Yeah. Why? What's happening?
I don't
Are you
know,
guys,
but you're
are you
all
guys on your
sideways.
phone? Are you on your phone?
I am on my phone.
Turn it.
Yeah.
Turn the phone.
Give it a turn. There you go. Look at that.
Yay!
Hey,
Adam
JR.
Marcus for the win.
I knew that was going to work. I just wanted to hear y'all say do it.
Yeah.
This
Hey,
is
Good to
what
see you, man.
teaching- This
Hey,
is what
Rick.
teaching 12 hours a
Hello.
week does, is you learn how to do all that.
He makes movies.
He does. So
Hey, guys.
Jason, what you got for us?
Okay.
Well, I would love to hear some future projects that you're all working on that you may or may not have already mentioned.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would
Yeah.
like to know. Who's working
We
on
can
stuff?
all go around. What's coming
Yeah.
up? What are you guys doing? We have all this time, so y'all better have some projects coming up.
Well, you know what though? But wait, I'm gonna expose you two because I saw Rick back. They dude.
Uh-huh.
Hey, what's up? dude?
Yeah, I see him.
These two badasses are actually helping Vanessa with with an amazing project that Vanessa's been cooking up called Golden Tooth. That is so freaking cool. This incredibly empowering female-driven Western that I'm telling you, I've read the short version of the project because she's kind of building a campaign around the feature. And the short film and the footage that I've seen so far from this thing is so badass. Look, I'm a huge fan of Vanessa anyway, and then I started getting all this extra film stuff that I had not known about from her. It's just true. And these two dudes, seriously, like these guys are the best ride and die guys to have with you on any team. And the work they're doing together is spectacular. So I'm putting that out there because I know she won't wave the flag as much as she should. So I'm waving it for her, and you can be embarrassed. I don't care. That's what I live for, is embarrassing.
Yeah,
I appreciate you waving the flag.
She has a very big, wonderful flag. You just need to hold it up with both hands and wave it high. She should. Yep. Wave that flag.
The short that you guys put online, the silent movie short that you put online, the three of you, that was brilliant.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
Really funny.
It's a lot of fun.
Really funny and clever with the silent movie stuff, and the acting was great, the writing was great, everything. So bravo to you guys.
Thank you. That was actually a lot of fun. So I think a lot of you probably have heard, like, you know how they have the 48-hour film contests and film festivals and stuff. There was a stuck at home edition that, you know, especially in the beginning, we were really going stir crazy. I think all of you and anyone who's creative kind of understands when you're stuck, you got to do something. So I jumped on board with Rick and Jason. I was like, let's do this. This will be fun. I'm like, we can't go anywhere. We have to use what is in our house. And we ended up with, our genre was silent film, and we made it really ridiculous, but it was a lot of fun.
Orange duck orange if you're fancy.
All orange if you're fancy.
Hey, Jenna, I wanted to also say I saw the short that you did, the remote fighting, the stunt fights.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Well, I wasn't the if you saw it randomly, that was probably not the one that I did, but
Send it to me. I'm sure.
I saw the one that you did. It was great.
Oh, thank you. There was because there have been Allie, a couple circulating. There are a couple different of these films where it's people fighting remotely, and you use their strikes to transition between each hit. And I train at a Krav Maga place in town, or I used to in the before times. And so the guy who owns the studio reached out and said, he sent me the original one, and then there was one with all women, and he said, do you want to make a version with our Krav people? And so I cut it together, and I threw a round kick in there.
I saw the round kick. I was like, damn, that's awesome. Yes. And I like the ballistic edit on it. Don't see the whole thing. You just go right into another shot, and it was really
Thank
sweet.
you.
So,
Thanks.
But I loved seeing some of that, and I think that's something might be pretty good to put a link in the thing so people can watch it.
That was a very strong suggestion. Let me I'll find the link.
Yeah,
I'll find the link.
Put a link. A link.
I'd even be stronger about do so. Yeah, and I've heard of this thing called Do So. You may want to talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, it was at this Women in Horror Film Festival. I don't know if you guys have heard of that. That old thing. Yeah, we won Best Trailer there last year, which was fantastic. And I, similar to you guys, I've kind of been, I go crazy if I'm not doing something. So I've been working on possibly too many things at the moment. And then I also had a bunch of cool stuff, some of which was horror related, that was in the process of happening before everything shut down. So
Ghost in San Francisco?
That's one of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't realize that you were in San Francisco, so I'll have to come scream at you outside your window at 3 a.m.
Oh, exactly. Well, I'll take you into the Oakland Hills. I know
We
you
would
like to
love
run.
that.
I need someone who will run the 1,000 feet up in this one spot. And I think you're the person.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of shape I'm in after this, but I'll do my best.
Yeah, you'll love it. You do it easy. I've seen some of the things that you've got pictures of. Unless you got helicoptered in.
Carrie.
Yeah, there's no way. Hey, who we got? Yay, Carrie.
Carrie 8. Woo-hoo.
And there's
Signing
a convention, like you were talking about, convention style that I was supposed to be doing for Terrifier in March, and now has been pushed to the fall, and we'll see. It'll happen eventually, you know.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey,
I don't think she's in yet.
I see her.
She's
She's
her
connecting to audio.
Her
Yeah.
audio's on its way. There we go. Hi, Carrie. And it looks like you're muted. Let me unmute you if you're.
Yes, we want to hear your voice. We want
Hello.
to hear about.
Hi,
I want to hear
Carrie.
about this crazy Michael Myers copycat.
Right. What I was in a place called North Bursted in England, and I was about 7 years old, and we all noticed that the women's and children's underwear was being stolen from the washing lines, and
Oh,
we lived in the suburbs. And what happened is my dad and his friend up the road used to go night fishing at the beach. So what was happening is we were staying at neighbours' houses when they're all going night fishing. And on this occasion, the neighbours up the road were staying at our house. We all sort of had sleepovers for safety reasons. And what happened is the neighbour was sleeping downstairs on the sofa bed, and she was hearing like someone swinging on the swing set, which was outside.
oh,
no.
And what happened is she literally went upstairs and looked at the she went, Marion, that's my mum's name. She goes, there's something outside, but I'm not looking. And he was wearing a clown mask with a knife,
of course.
swinging
Mm-hmm.
on the
Real nice.
and it was, all I remember is like 2 a.m. It was, my mum never swore. She was like, didn't like swearing in front of us kids. But she was, get the fuck out of bed. We're going down to the beach. We're going to sleep in Dad's tent at the beach because we can't stay here.
Wow.
And it was like, seriously, no word of a lie. It was like, do you know, like the scene out of Halloween 1, the first one, where the kids are all going, literally running, screaming out the house?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? It was literally just like that. It was like, get in the car, run now. And the thing was, by the time the police got there, he'd already gone. And it turned out he was a neighbour from across the street. What he was doing is, he was waiting for the men to go out of the house. He was like 16 years old, and it turned out to be the neighbour. His bedroom window was literally looking at our cul-de-sac. And every time the men went, oh, hello, Raven. This is my hello, Raven. And they basically, what happened was they had to do a sting operation where the men went round the corner. We had to pretend to do our normal, night stuff, going taking our sleeping bags and everything to the houses. And the only way that they could get him was to do 2 sting operations. And eventually they got him, and he did go to he literally was like Halloween. He ended up going to
Wow.
psychiatric unit here in the UK. because what happened was this, he actually had all the underwear in his bedroom, in his wardrobe, as souvenirs.
As one would assume. Oh my.
And then,
Seriously, it was
15
like,
years later, he comes home.
don't tell me, don't know. All I know is it's like, I'm glad I don't live there anymore, because
Phew.
everyone goes, oh, do you, hello, can I do a shot of down, can you say down Skippy, then I can have a shot of rum.
Ah,
Damn Skippy, darling.
turning this into... Oh, I didn't know we were going to be
That's
playing a
awesome.
drinking game.
Yes,
Sorry.
yes.
I
Interesting
missed
than
the Lloyd
water.
Alley the Allie and oh God, Adam show. Damn Skippy, a bottle of rum later. That's it. You're gone. And the thing is, I'm still up at 6 in the morning with the kids. I don't go to bed when those shows happen. I'll tell you now. I just like to start getting the coffee going.
Oh,
That's
You're the
awesome.
best. You are the best, sweetie.
and you win for scariest real life story.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
My God. The closest I've heard.
Yes.
The close.
So do you know whenever they say, oh, Michael Myers, oh, how, this, how that, I go, in theory, I've lived it to a certain degree, so yes, it can happen. so, do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
do you know when people sort of like say, oh, this is a bit elaborate, it's a bit far-fetched, I'm like, no. But, I
The
sort of
closest
say,
I've
thank
heard
you
to
for-
that.
Yes.
I was going to say, sorry about that. The closest I've heard to a story like that was actually, it made a film out of, I think it was called Soft for Digging. The director had created this movie because when he was a young kid in Long Island, there was a guy
Yes.
who was taping camcorders to trees. And he was
Yeah.
just recording for like 5 years or something, the lives of the neighbors that he had. And he got caught.
All right.
Somebody finally noticed the camera. And
Yeah.
so the birth of a child happened in one of the houses, and the growth of the child. He
Yes.
became really intimate with everybody's lives. And it freaked this guy out so much. The guy went to court, obviously to jail and everything on it. But the director created a movie called Soft for Digging. And after that movie came out, he then did a pseudo documentary where he brings this up called Sandman. And it's like, when I heard that, I was going, wow, that's right. We think of these things, but really in small town America, all across the country, across the world, there are just these pockets of ennui where you don't expect this kind of madness to happen. And it does. And I think it happens more often than we want to admit.
Yes, it sure does at the end of the day. People don't like thinking, oh, it's too far-fetched, it's this, and I go, not really. These stories
No, and I'm
do
sorry.
happen.
If I looked in my backyard and there was a clown swinging on a swing set, I would shit myself. Like, I don't know how to, I'm done. I'm dead. I had a heart attack.
Yeah,
I
I would
can't.
burn down the entire neighborhood.
Vanessa.
immediately.
Yeah.
Seriously, it was like, seriously, the scene out of, the original Halloween, we got the kids running down the street. That was me and my friends, and I will gone. Because we had to go in the bigger car because our neighbour had a station wagon for our car. And it was like, we had to get sort of like, there's 5 kids, 2 adults, and a baby
No.
in a car that, we just piled in. I was like, oh dear. So, yes.
So
That's small town America, England for you.
Yeah.
if I may, I wanted to find out, because Jenna was right in the middle of talking about what she's been working on. And I'm
yes.
kind of like really psyched to hear the rest of this. So Jenna, could you finish where you were, could you take from where you were
Do
talking?
so.
Because it was kind of awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Sure. Well, so Ghost in San Francisco, we were supposed to start filming in April, so that we hadn't started yet, but that will assumedly presume whenever or resume.
Mhm.
Presumably resume anyway, words. And Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp is in that as well. She and
Love
I connected
her.
she's amazing. She's so sweet. And she and I
Yes.
connected at a convention, and that's how I got involved. Was she brought me on or recommended me for that. And then there's a indie horror feature called Killer Babes and the Frightening Film Fiasco, and that we filmed
Nice.
half of, and the second half we were again supposed to film in May, so it'll happen whenever it does. And then I directed a short film that was supposed to, like a sci-fi quirky rom-com that was supposed to premiere at the Atlanta Film Festival, which will happen at some point. And then I'm the lead in a short film that was set to premiere at Tribeca and actually was nominated for Best Narrative Short at Tribeca this year.
Congratulations.
the
That's
And
Abducted,
that was like
Wow. right?
Abducted, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna, you guys will like it. It's fun. Thanks. That one's a really fun one. I haven't seen it yet, but it was a lot of fun to work on, and so I'm excited to see it as I hope everyone else will be. And then in this time I've been doing a lot of writing, and I'm in pre-production indefinitely on something that I'm set to direct. So
Nice.
That's awesome.
gotta keep
Amazing.
irons on
Very
fire.
cool.
Thanks.
Thank you for that, and thank you, Adam, for the save.
No worries. No, I really,
Adam AD'd us back. He first AD'd us
Yes.
back
He
to
did.
where we were.
It's what I do. It is really what I do. No, but seriously, because like I know some of your acting work. I don't know as much as of your filmmaking work. So that's really exciting. I that's what I want to know about,
Thanks.
because yeah, a lot of what we're, and Vanessa knows this, but and Allie and Deb surely know it, but a lot of what our company is doing is we're working with a lot of women in horror.
Hell
and
yeah.
promoting female filmmakers. And so when you're talking about this stuff, that's the stuff that I'm like, yeah, tell me more. I want to know about that.
I want to know about that. Yeah, no, I would love to
so-
tell you more about that stuff whenever, because the thing that I'm prepping for right now is essentially a trailer for a feature that's already written and fully developed. But we've had some meetings with some really great folks about it, but we're going to create a trailer to kind of push the convincing over the edge. So
I
to
love it.
speak.
It's smart. It's always smart, because here's the thing: nobody reads.
Right.
But they'll all look at pretty pictures for 3 minutes. That they'll do.
Right.
Yeah.
Universal language, baby.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
2 minutes, maybe two.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You in LA, Jenna?
I'm in Atlanta right now. I go to LA and New York a couple times a year, but right now I'm in Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So yeah,
Are you in LA?
I'm in LA.
Okay. Because I know the people who are lit the best are on the West Coast, because your sun is still up. And the rest of us, Vanessa and I have this like moody, like lamp.
Yeah, mine
candlelit
keeps
situation.
changing, and it looks like my forehead is the sun.
Because you're a shining light in the darkness.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
All of us.
That's
You are our beacon.
You're a beacon.
I have the biggest forehead.
No,
You could
this
play
is
a movie right there.
yeah.
I'm
This
sorry.
is a 7 or 8 head I got
Yeah.
right here. So.
Scott and I might have you beat, sweetie.
Yeah.
We might.
Mm.
This thing has its own zip code. So it's-
Yeah.
I've heard of dick measuring contests, but this is something else.
oh no, this is
At a certain age, this is much more respectable.
yeah. No hat can contain
How big
this
is
nonsense.
your forehead?
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly.
I'm telling you.
dating
That's
dating
how I
profiles are
pick
getting
my
weirder.
men, by the
That's
size
right.
of their forehead.
Uh-huh. Big forehead means
Yeah.
big,
So
big hat.
Jen,
Big hat. Very big hat.
Big
Big-
hat.
yeah. Right. 9.5, 9 3/4, man. That's it. But so Jenna, talking about when I saw you at Peachtree City for the Women in Horror Film Festival, I had seen the trailer for Do So, which I thought was really, it's beautifully elegant.
Oh,
it had its wonderful
Thank
page.
you.
Very
Thanks.
delicious to look at. And why don't you give a little bit, people were talking the name, but can you give a little bit of background on it? Because I know you've been trying to push this over the finish line to get it into a feature film.
So that one, I'm actually not as involved with the pushing of it. That's really the baby of Erin Gay, who wrote it and stars in it. Yeah, she's who you also spoke with. She's fantastic. That's not the one that I'm referring to. That I know that is also part of the goal for that project. And yeah, so for those who don't know, it was a trailer that we made that I directed that premiered at the Women in Horror Film Festival 2 years ago.
2018, yeah.
2018. That was so
wow.
Feels so long ago. I have no sense of
I
time
know.
anymore.
The 2021 feels so long ago. I don't know what day it is. It's this whole time has been really messing.
Yeah,
with
time
our
is a
heads.
construct, especially now. But that one was it was a piece that it's a period piece that takes place at turn of the 19th century in London, in one of the seedier areas, and follows a non-binary individual. So it was a lot of fun.
Really awesome.
I hadn't done anything like that before,
Yeah.
so it was fun to sink my teeth into.
Thanks for going into that a little bit for us. Allie, please come
Okay,
back. Bring
Allie,
popcorn.
when you
We're all
return.
hungry.
Come back to us.
We'll see you in a
Yes.
few.
Thank you
Just
so
ring
much,
the
Allie.
doorbell. We'll let you in.
And so yeah, that's right. Leave a light on for you.
But
So Larry Greenstein,
Jason,
he's been sitting here
what do you got?
forever
Oh,
trying
no,
to be.
Larry, never mind.
Larry's been here. I wanted to talk real quick to you, Larry, because one of the things that I noticed in your in the Facebook page was that you mentioned Alice. Sweet Alice was the first horror film that really messed with you, and that is one I hold high in my list as well, because that's one of the grimiest, most disturbing films. Just everything about it feels ugly. So yeah, talk a little bit about that one.
Oh, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yep.
But, it was a long time. It was a long time ago that I saw it, and it is what got me into horror. So, I couldn't even tell you how old I was. Wasn't very old, but that got me really into it. And from that point forward, there was something about it, and I wanted to know the background of it, how they did the work, how they made the blood and all that just disgusting nastiness that went on in there. And been in love with horror ever since, and in a very long time.
Yeah, well, it's a great film. I mean, it's a disturbing film. It's not something that I would recommend to everybody, but if you like a certain style of like New York City grindhouse style, it's not really a grindhouse film, but it has a stylistic feel. Everybody in there's something wrong with the characters. Everything is moody and disturbing. Brooke Shields is in there for a very brief period of time, but there's also a really disturbing death, which I think is one of the most cinematic deaths in a horror film, because it plays with time so much. She ties a person up and puts them in a carpet. It's this little girl, and it's a grown man, but he's now tied and he can't move his arms or his legs. And she's just slowly rolling this guy towards the edge of a building, an abandoned building. And he's screaming and crying, going through every emotion, and they don't cut. It's just boom, boom. And it's one of those that still I applaud when I think about how well that was done, that there were so many ways to screw up that sequence, and they went all the way with it. Yeah. So yeah, thumbs up on that one, Larry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's available on Amazon Prime right now.
Wow.
Wow.
That mask is truly terrifying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've been looking for something similar to that for years, but you can't. They just don't have the same punch that did.
Yeah, that clear-faced mask where it's just mascara. The makeup is on the clear face. Yeah, really disturbing. They use that in a movie called Last House on Dead End Street as well, which is a notorious grindhouse film. And that is really a freaky movie, to say the least. And there are moments where those masks become so important to why that movie is unsettling. I mean, there's so much that's unsettling.
I think the simple masks, the simple things were scarier. I mean,
Yeah.
that mask itself, I don't think ever had an intention of being a horror mask or a scary mask. It was simply a clear mask that had makeup on it, probably to give the look of makeup, right?
Mhm.
But it was terrifying. And
Yeah.
I think even similar to the Michael Myers mask, which has nothing, it's just white, but it's terrifying.
Well,
and
it does have a lot of Shatner
I was gonna
magic, which
say,
is
Shatner
always
is
very
terrifying.
terrifying.
Right.
So that's right there, pretty
Yeah.
scary.
I wish I could do a Shatner impersonation. That would have been a perfect moment for it. But
Yeah,
I cannot.
Really
I-
would have been.
Yeah. Yes.
but I think it's those simple things. It's the simplicity. It's I think it's when you show too much, it's not scary. I mean,
yeah.
similar to gore, I
Mhm.
would say I appreciate good makeup, good gore, good practical effects. I don't find them scary.
They're not, because they're
No.
not.
Right.
Right.
Well, not anymore because we've been so inundated with them since the 80s.
Well,
Yeah, but
let's be
even in
honest.
the beginning, I mean, I think, seeing an axe go into someone's shoulder and maybe an arm flying off. I mean, yeah, it's gross and you can make it look realistic. That doesn't scare me.
I think it was the fact that there was a shock included in the early makeup moments. But I would say this, the first bite in Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
When the African American couple's at the top of the stairs and she bites into his shoulder, that was actually frightening. And the makeup actually contributed to how frightening it was, because this idea of being consumed by someone you love, just showing you that gore on top of the fact that it was this horrible premise. But I don't think I think that gore in and of itself has never been scary. And let's be honest, once Stanley Kubrick opened up the elevator, blood was fucked for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
What is blood gonna mean now? Like, yeah, I'm
Right.
sorry, there's an ocean of blood. We're done. Like we
Right.
that's not gonna be. We can play with that as artists,
Yeah.
but it's never gonna have the shock factor again.
Right. It can only be funny. It can only be
Right.
funny at that point.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Dead
no, I
loving
agree.
it.
with you. But by the way, I think I even think the strangers, the masks,
Mhm.
are
Yes.
so
Yes.
effective and
Yeah.
terrifying
Yeah.
because it
Absolutely.
depersonalizes it.
It's
Yeah,
like
I-
an
Yeah, those are
uncanny
pretty
valley.
creepy.
There's
Yes.
something there's
Thank
something
you,
in
Jenna.
our brains that says that computes it as human, but not quite human,
Right.
and that freaks us
Exactly.
out more than something that's entirely inhuman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
That
The
uncanny valley is perfectly what I was thinking about for that. And it's a little bit of like the Kuleshov effect. I think that's kind of what you
What's
have
that?
with Carpenter. Kuleshov effect is where there was an editor back in the early silent days. He took a bunch of stills, basically a man with an expressionless face. He took a shot of a graveyard, a shot of a baby crying, a shot of boiling water, and he edited them together in different patterns. And then he'd ask people, what was this movie about? They go, oh, well, when the man's face was first, they'd say he's so disturbed because his wife died, because they see the
Oh,
cemetery.
but it was always the same expression.
It's always the same expression, always the same
Interesting.
pieces just flipped around. And that gives the power of editing. And so the power of omission and letting someone else tell the story is what's so important. I think that's what Carpenter really went for. You
Yeah.
had all of this stuff. He gets this. What's the most plain thing that you can wear? A garage coverall. There's no buttons on the thing. It's gray. He's wearing a white face. No features whatsoever. The knife is just that one slash, and it's like everything about that was just you put all the scares into whatever that character was doing. And I think the same with those masks. They may have been done for a lark, but if you have a small child wearing one of those in a rain jacket running up towards you, that's absolutely disturbing. Or someone just not moving. The idea of not moving and wearing one of those masks as you're walking up towards that person, context changes quickly.
I do that during the Halloween, trick or treating. I'll get on my porch and stand perfectly still in a whole get up and just scare the living hell out of everybody. It's great.
Oh my gosh.
Well, that actually, speaking to that, like, just, you don't have to be wearing a mask or wearing anything. If you change your demeanor, any one of you, if I come into your home and you're just standing there, not moving, staring at me, I will be afraid. That's not normal and it scares me. And I think there's something to that. Like, when your whole, what I guess your expectation of how someone should be behaving or what
Sure.
it feels safe changes, and it changes that drastically. I mean, I think that's just that instinct that's supposed to keep us safe. It's like, I need to stay away. This is dangerous.
Well, and look, even in films where that's not even sort of the premise. Let's even take that one shot in American Werewolf in London when David runs upon David in the forest and he's in the hospital bed and he walks up and he just gives that, and you see his eyes and the teeth are changed. It's those tiny little changes. I remember that was the only thing in that movie that made me scream out loud in the theater. And I actually yelped. Because and again, it's his face. It's the actor you've been watching, but it's slight adjustments that just make it, like you were saying, a little inhuman. Like Jenna was saying, like just slightly wrong.
It's off.
Or the shots of Pazuzu, the demon in The Exorcist, when you're seeing the makeup tests, the moments of the makeup tests. That they used as subliminal shots throughout the movie. That's the scariest stuff in that film. And it's just a person's face. It's just a face. But it's the human face with slight adjustments. There's something just not right.
Right.
That's the stuff that's terrifying.
And it's funny because it is so small, but you notice it. You notice it immediately.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh. Is somebody talking?
Jason and Rick, what are you up to? How are you coping with the insanity that we're in?
It sucks. I mean, I guess I broke my foot at the right time.
On.
I'm a hospital worker, so it's just working home. I still haven't seen my mother or my daughter since quarantine started, and looks like Mother's Day is going to be a Zoom kind of present. But she can't work Zoom, so I don't know. She still can't play her DVD player, can't figure out how to turn it on, so Zoom is probably out of the question.
Well, thank you for going to the hospital and going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
My birthday next Friday.
Is it really?
Happy birthday.
42 next Friday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday
to you.
That's awesome.
Can we do the few damn skippies and then I can have lots and lots of, little tipples, yes?
Oh, yeah, you get a damn skippy for 42.
As you need, baby.
And I want to thank Adam and Allie and Debra Voorhees for inspiring me. Eventually, once all this hell is over, my project will get underway. I'm hopefully I'm going to represent English thriller horror with a difference. So Adam knows about it.
I sure do.
That's awesome.
It's a horror thriller based in England, and at the moment, because Adam knows my personal family situation, and we've been in lockdown for over 8 weeks, and obviously I've had to put a lot of things on hold. But through the friendship between Adam, Debra, Allie, and all the horror family, which I absolutely love and adore, it's inspired me to do my own project, and I'm highly honoured to be part of this Zoom thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's
my
awesome.
gosh, thank
it's awesome
you.
that
I'm
you're
glad
here,
you're
sweetie.
here.
And the research you've been doing has been amazing.
Oh, yes. And I've actually stayed up to do conferences at 5, 6 in the morning.
Yeah, it's really cool stuff.
Yeah, no small feat. No small feat.
Yep.
And then I have to get up and get 3 disabled children ready for school after that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Adam knows more, but it's not for me to say, so because it's a conference.
See, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're on here, because this is the thing that I love, is that the people who are here love horror movies. We all started in the same place, right? But none of us were the ones that could just watch, right? We all had something that compelled us to create in some way. We couldn't just sit on the sidelines. And those are the people that I love to hear from. And so when I hear you tell me, I've got 3 kids I've got to take care of, I've got to do all this stuff.
4 kids.
4
kids.
And you're
Oh.
staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning to do research on something that won't let you sleep. That's hot. See, that's pretty amazing stuff to me.
And this is coffee. It's not alcohol, by the way.
I got you covered.
If I had 4 kids, I would be drinking lots of alcohol.
Oh, Debra,
Yes.
Raven said hello to you earlier. She actually said
Oh.
Debra.
Oh, I'm sorry I missed
So
that. Tell her I
sweet.
said hello.
He's going to sleep now, thank God.
Yes. Well, there's a kiss for her.
Oh,
It's about 2:30 in the morning here. So, yes,
Oh.
he's going to sleep.
oh boy.
You need to go to sleep.
Yeah,
My
no
goodness.
kidding.
I never do sleep.
She never sleeps. She
Adam
never
and
sleeps.
Deborah actually know, and Jason know that I don't go to bed very early in this, over here.
So we had a conversation about gore. We had a conversation about different types of movies that are horror films. Of course, it's a very wide umbrella that we have horror films underneath. What is the style that speaks to each of you the most? Like, I'm in my cups over Dread. I'm so happy because I'm a Nicholas Rogue guy, right?
Mhm.
So I'm so excited that Dread has become like the thing that's permeating through a lot of horror films. How about you folks? What's the thing that you, if you see it in a movie, you're like, yes?
I would say behind
Vanessa. Ooh,
Dread
go
as
ahead.
well. I love that nightmare horror is becoming so popular.
Mhm.
The close enough to reality, but just far enough away. That sort of thing that's becoming popular, I think, is very cool.
Certain level of surreality put into it as well.
Like hyper realism and like this existential dread and the use of allegory that's becoming really popular. I love all that.
Yeah. Does it seem like you're seeing, to me it seems at least, but I want to see what everybody else says, that it almost feels like the pop culture is taking over where it used to be high culture, and that pop culture is now the way that we speak to each other without it being kind of denigrated. And that's kind of allowed allegory to come back. Maybe superhero movies helped a little bit, but I think horror has also done that. Do you feel that we're ready for more, to talk about the bad things through symbolism more than we used to?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. That's the great thing about horror. That's the great thing about sci-fi, is that you can comment on the human condition and things that you would like to see change in the world or that you don't think are right. And you can weave it into a story that, if you do it well, you're giving, as Adam says, you're giving people their vegetables, but they don't even realize it because it tastes so good.
Right.
That's like the perfect way to say that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I said it
came from Adam
without saying it. But you know what else I think what's happening to that point is that I think that you can watch waves of horror connect to how we're feeling societally. Like there's a perfect moment when when the O.J. Simpson trial happened, right? Okay, and it's just like a perfect example of how this shifts. So the movie Seven was supposed to be premiering at that time, and the test scores through New Line were awful. Like they were expecting Seven to be a disaster. Like, no one's going to see this. No one has interest in this. The day before Seven's supposed to come out, the O.J. Simpson trial wraps up, and they find O.J. innocent.
Yeah.
The next day, Seven is the #1 movie at the box office. Now, that's the audience responding out of anger to go see Seven. That's literally that's exactly how that changed. And the guys at New Line were all like, wow, we are so lucky that verdict came in the day before. And the audience, the demographics on it skewed completely differently than they thought it was going to. Like, everything about that was shifted. I think the fact that you've got this very overwhelming wave of dread in horror right now, and that's been bubbling up for a while, but now it's crashing on us.
Yes.
I think everybody is horribly depressed. And I think our horror is reflecting that mood. There's a hopelessness to it. I think Ari Aster showed up exactly at the moment when he would be the most relevant, because I think people are broken right now. Like, just like, can we not have this cloud above us? Yet horror allows us to release all of that. If you look at the 80s were, by the way, a disgusting period in politics, but nobody knew it. We didn't know it because we weren't connected to politics the way we are now. So everybody thought, it's great, everything's terrific. So all of these sort of like giggly, silly slasher movies come out in that 8-year period of the, 80 to 88, where it's all sort of fun. It's all this party, but it's also weirdly sort of Christian right.
Yeah, very much.
Because like when there are people who come at me about like, the movies you make are evil and they're against Christ. And I'm like, wait, hang on. I actually think our movies do all the heavy lifting for you guys. Like, if you drink, if you smoke, if you do drugs, if you have premarital sex, you get killed. I'm sorry. That's exactly what you want to propagate, isn't it? It's why my movie doesn't have that in it. But because I would not have a sex equals death scene. I would have an unsafe sex equals death scene. That I was fine with. But there is, I think that horror movies, when they are at their best, I think why Night of the Living Dead is still a classic to this day, is because the Vietnam War was happening. And that movie is a reaction to the Vietnam War. It just is.
And the civil rights movement, when you have those German shepherds jumping on the zombies, it has a definite punch. And even 50, almost 60 years later, that punch is still there. Whenever I watch that movie, the last 5 minutes gets everybody. And you mentioned something really interesting about how we feel right now. And isn't it ironic that we're at the 100th year anniversary of Cabin of Dr. Caligari, which is a movie that did the exact same thing, gave us German expressionism that basically looked at Berlin after the reparations have made like 700,000 Germans starve after the last guns fired because their economy is destroyed. They're soulfully ripped to pieces, the German people, and you have this one art form that's created that gives us the template for most horror films. That is a definite scream from those folks. And I think we're having that right now. Exactly what you're talking about. We are just crestfallen in some ways. We're burnt out. And what, instead of turning into going to see the Luntz and Busby Berkeley stuff, we're sitting there with it. We want to have that crunch one more time. That is how we're going to get rid of it, by having that dark feeling come to us again. Sometimes it's too much. I remember after 9/11, the first movie I went to see was Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. And that was the absolute perfect film of all time for me at that moment, because I was so devastated. And I just saw that movie and all I wanted to do was listen to fart jokes. Give me fart jokes. I don't care.
But by the way, I think that's why Tiger King is such a hit.
Right.
I have not watched that, and I refuse to.
Here's the thing.
You just must.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Honestly, I would have. The only reason Deb and I watched it was that our partner, our producing partner, one of his closest friends from Kentucky had made the film, had made the series, and he got
Vanessa.
Fucking Carol Baskin. He got it to us early and was like, you have to see this. It's going to be giant. This thing will be enormous. So we watched it, and I have to tell you, it was so weirdly compelling because it's like a fucking clown car. It is so nuts. And by the way, not in the way you think it's going to be. The cruelty towards animals, which is
that's why I won't watch it.
Right. But here's what's great about it. No one will watch that series and go like, that's funny. No. That's the moment that show goes so dark. You're like, whoa, wait a second. No. So you're looking at truly a clown car. You're looking at these absolute morons. And you're laughing with it until you're not fucking laughing with it anymore. And what's kind of great about it is that like even our comedies right now are all sort of ironic and snarky. Like we don't have any dumb comedy anymore. I mean, yes, there are some, but they're not in the zeitgeist. No one's really like it. No one's going like, oh my God, did you see Man with a Plan this week? It's not happening.
Summer.
It's not like we have a Friends anymore or a Seinfeld or something that we can all connect to and just laugh at. And I actually think Tiger King has become this kind of weirdly cosmic comedy where we're looking at a honestly like a tribe of people that we're going like, I can't believe this exists in our world. It's so surreal. It feels like a comedy. It feels like this is nonsense. Like this, that these people can't be real. Oh, they're real. They're real. So I agree with you. Animals are like my jam. And so for me, if I had not had someone watch it and kind of go, listen, there's some stuff that's really going to affect you, but it's not done in a sensationalist way. It's going to really piss you off. I was cool with that. I'm like, fine, if you're going to piss me off, that's great. Pissing me off is fine. I just don't want to see it done for entertainment purposes, and it's not. Right. That's when that thing becomes really not okay. And the filmmaker is actually underlining, this is horrible.
Right, right. Well, everybody, I just want to take a moment. We have Dave Miller here in with us. He decided to be courageous and come on in and ask a few questions and join in the bar tab. Put a little in for the bar tab, my friend Dave. Talk a little bit for us.
Well, I knew you guys are going to be on tonight. I almost forgot about it. And I came in to do something else on the computer and something popped up and I'm like, oh, geez, I got to find you guys. And of course, Vanessa and Jason and Rick, and I had the pleasure of meeting Adam and Debra at the Women in Horror Film Festival this past February. So that was it was pretty good. So how's everybody else doing?
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. So good.
Surviving the whatever it is that we've got going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I can, as much as everybody's kind of complaining about everything being on hold. I mean, I'm healthy. My family's healthy.
Yes.
We can do stuff like this. Like
this, if I mean, this is the best time to be alive during something like this.
Yeah. I have the ability to help. It's, I got no complaints.
Yeah. This may not be where like an entirely new social structure religion is created for the first time whenever there's like a major plague that has that starts to decimate areas. We have communication. We're able to communicate with each other, which I think is great. So how about yourself, Dave? What have you been up to? What are you doing through all of this?
Hey,
I do have a woodworking shop as a hobby, and I just made a lot of improvements to that, and so now I can create more firewood a lot easier.
Nice.
But that, and fortunately in Tennessee, we haven't been hit that hard. The golf courses are open, so I can play a little golf. And other than that, they started opening up restaurants and whatnot, but I'm not quite ready to.
Good.
I understand that.
For you.
Yeah, good. You're doing the right thing.
George is kind of wide open. I haven't investigated. I don't plan on it.
No, I refuse.
They're damn fools.
No, that is natural selection.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I still figure I'll just hang back for a while longer. We need to go up to Connecticut next week, so we'll see how that goes.
It's funny that you should say that. I'm in San Francisco now, but I grew up in the coal mines of Pennsylvania. My hometown is Hazleton, Pennsylvania. And on the eastern seaboard right now, there is New York in devastation and Hazleton, Pennsylvania, which is only about 50,000 people, because they had one of the Amazon warehouses that was infected and the Cargill that was infected, both in the same place. There's also a very highly politicized area that did not believe in any of the social distancing. And unfortunately, it took its toll, especially as people worked through that. With that stated, I also know the people of that area, and a lot of them don't have the luxury of being able to stay at home in certain areas. But it was counterproductive in the long run, right? Because they are, I have a few people in my family who are in the medical profession that are quarantined. They can't see each other at this point because they're in different tents.
Well, like Jason. Areas. That's what Jason was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really disturbing. And then I'm in San Francisco where they shut the shit down early. And they said, and people were, there was a little bit of anger, but it was amazing. It was a very bittersweet apocalypse is what I like to call it. It's a very strange and surreal one when you can go to Chick-fil-A if you so want to, while the apocalypse is happening, which is very strange. But when I just did what was it? I think it's a 17-mile hike across San Francisco, which is through all the greenways. And I did it on the first or second week when we were really starting to go into lockdown. And it was so bittersweet and melancholy. I did it with a friend. Did the 6 feet between us, and we met people every so often. We're going through all these places that normally it's assholes to elbows. There's so many people there, and there was no one. And so I took a bunch of photos from that area. And then when we would meet people, there'd be this moment. We're happy to see each other. We're asking, seriously, are you okay? Yeah. And then you realize someone's waiting behind you with a baby and they're terrified. They're waiting for you to get out of the way so that they could roll their baby on through. And it really hit me going through the place how are we going to look back at this moment? Is this going to be like we're sitting here eating lunch in Glen Park, this canyon park, and is this the last time anybody's going to be here for a while? Is this going to be the moment that we reminisce was really the good moments? This was where those people, I thought about how like World War II, you see, you open up the photo albums and you're looking, goes, there's my grandfather the day before he left. That's the last happy day he had. And how we have these moments frozen in time from a great tragedy that happens, this specter that comes through. I've had a lot of people who say there better not be many COVID movies. I'm like, of course there's going to be a lot of COVID movies. There are a lot of abortion movies. There are a lot of children out of wedlock movies. There have always been. Whatever we are terrified of, whatever the anxiety is, yes, exploitation films are going to go there. But there are going to be 3 great ones. There are going to be 3 great ones that we're going to look at. We're going to go, yes. That's why we let people make these movies. That's exactly what I was afraid of at that time. And now I get it. And now we can all understand we were in the same boat. I remember seeing the X-Files film, and the most gripping moment was when they recreated the Oklahoma City bombing in a political building. And it was like, wow, everybody paid attention at that moment. Everybody's fidgeting in the seats. And then when that happens, it becomes this thing where it just connects everybody. And I think those are stingers. I think these are these things that are historically, they never mention where it's from, but it is ripped from our cerebral cortex of history. And people take those images. Very famously, Wes Craven did for Last House on the Left. The guy getting shot in the head in Vietnam was the girl getting shot in the lake. He wanted to have that cold end.
Well, I think when we will obviously have a number of pandemic films, but I don't think they're going to look necessarily like pandemic films. I think they're going to look like, The Thing being a movie that takes place during the Red Scare. Like they're going to be about this, but disguised as something else.
Right. If they're clever,
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Well, there's going to be one that's really on the nose, and then there's going to be like a highbrow one on the other end that's like nuanced.
Yeah.
And then there'll be one in the middle for the masses.
Have you got I'm wondering specifically from Jenna and Vanessa, because I know Deb hasn't watched this yet, but have you guys taken a look at Jennifer Kent's follow-up to the Babadook,
Yes.
The Nightingale?
I have so many thoughts.
Not yet. I know it's on my list. Every time I don't. You guys shouldn't let me in here to talk to you guys about something.
Us in here.
I'm so far behind on my movie.
You let us into this room.
I did tell you about it like almost a month ago, so I thought I'd given you enough lead time on that one. It's been about a month.
I don't know what day it is.
I saw.
We'll watch it. I promise.
Yeah, Jenna, what did you think of it?
Well, I saw it at Sundance last year, and I won't give any spoilers, but I was honestly pretty disappointed, and I don't know if that's the popular response, but that was my response. I thought that there was one scene that I thought was brilliant and fucked me sideways, but then aside from that, I was pretty disappointed because I love the Babadook. That is one of my favorites. I think Jennifer Kent is a beast.
Yeah,
she is.
I didn't love Nightingale.
Adam, how did you feel about Nightingale? Did you think it was?
I found it to be one of the hardest things I've sat through in so damn long. I was just like, I chose to watch it at about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
Oh,
the
Hard
scene
due to
with the
subject
baby
matter?
is the one that I loved.
the what?
The scene with the baby.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene I thought was genius, and I loved how that was done, and her use of sound and her use of build up and then fallout.
Wow.
I loved all of that. But then after that, it was really hard for me to stay on board.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the history of that period in Australia. So there's something about that I'm really attached to emotionally.
I can see that. It's interesting.
And that it became that everything she does has I don't think it's purposeful actually, but everything she does has a feminist bent to it, which again, because it doesn't feel purposeful is why I love it. Like, it doesn't feel like I'm being taught a lesson. It feels like I'm just watching her point of view, and her point of view is naturally that, which is what I love. But I found it fascinating to then bring in this Aboriginal idea that was so the movie broke me. Like it's 3:20 in the morning and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It just exhausted me. I don't know if I enjoyed it. I just was like, oh.
The movie. Oh, sorry.
No, please. No, please.
I was gonna say that the movie that just broke me, that is probably my favorite thing that I would love to hear all of your favorite films that you've seen in quarantine. Because The Platform.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
My God.
I just watched that with my daughter. She chose it.
That movie.
Yeah, that's hardcore.
I haven't been the same person since I saw that film.
Now there's some social commentary.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Entertaining and disturbing and
and funny.
I just,
there's a very funny.
Got a sense of humor. Well, all good horror films have to have at least some sense of humor.
Yeah,
yes.
Some genre bending.
Yeah. Some wit. I love that. That movie was really interesting to me. I wanted to get back to The Nightingale just for a moment because because I was enraged by it, and yet I couldn't get it out of my head. I was enraged because I was trying to go what's the thread that I'm supposed to feel here. And I think the thing that made The Babadook so good and what also makes this one so challenging is the same thing. She is dedicated to trying to figure out how we can all survive trauma. It's always about trauma.
Yeah.
And so the Babadook has this amazing answer, which has never happened in a horror movie before. You either have to kill the monster or the monster kills you, but you never learn to live with the monster. And that was phenomenal. I had never seen anybody come up with another choice. And in The Nightingale, it's just welcome to the cycle. It doesn't end. And here's how this trauma goes. And that's what made it so hard was the character became impossible for me to rally for. I rallied for them to a certain point, and then there's a moment of like weird cowardice that happens at the very wrong moment. And I don't want to say any more because I don't want to give.
But you see, that's what.
But it's so smart.
And what I find so amazing about her point of view is that she takes what could be sort of the Rambo moment,
right?
And goes, yeah, but not everybody is that.
Yeah.
And everybody might want to perceive themselves that way. But when it comes down to it, I mean, the moment in the bush, again, without ruining it for anybody, but the moment in the bush where she actually does do something that's very active.
Right.
It doesn't go the way she thinks it's going to go.
Right.
And I loved, like, that was so messy and wrong and ugly. And I was like, great.
Yeah. The moment of brilliance, and where what angered me and why I had to come back to it was it doesn't just affect her. That's where I mean, you could have had that where it just doesn't work out her way. Like Blue Ruin would be a movie where, the entire movie is someone getting everyone else into shit because they come with an unwritten plan. And the Nightingale does that. And there are characters who you sympathize with, and this person sympathizes with. And causes a demise and more pain everywhere because of the lack of conviction at that moment where you want to do the right thing and you don't. And I think that's another interesting thing that I'm seeing a lot. We're getting into emotions in horror films that normally don't get talked about, like that movie David Bruckner did, Ritual, where it's really an exercise in cowardice. We never talk about cowardice.
Right.
The main character isn't the coward, never. And this is a movie all about how cowardice feeds on souls, that you never really get over it. And I thought, man, what a great idea. And we're seeing more and more of those films. And I love that Platform has that. Platform has this wonderful idea of this could be a great tract for a political movement. Not really. You know, if you take a look at it, the comedy of that is really vicious, and it ends where we're not even sure if the one untruth is going to topple everything, but we have hope. And
but
yet,
wait, but to that, what do you guys think of the ending of the movie? Because I was 100% on board, and then I was like, wah wah.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in it.
But I could be wrong. I mean, that's how it hit me. But what do you guys think? I mean,
that was our initial reaction. Like I watched it with my 14-year-old. She was like, "Oh, my friend told me about this. She said it's really scary. Let's watch it." I'm like, sold. And my husband's like kind of watching in the kitchen, and he's like, "What do you look?" I'm like, I don't think you're gonna like this. It doesn't have Denzel Washington in it.
That's awesome.
And
awesome.
We were like so kind of engaged and intrigued, and it was kind of twisting and turning and unexpected. And then it got to the end, and I looked at Emma, and we both went, "Well, that was weird."
Yeah, it's a really interesting thing, right? Because it's that moment. Did you ever see? It's not a horror movie, but it's John Sayles. He did a movie called Limbo.
Yeah,
and it's such a magnificent.
Of course,
movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's a magnificent movie about the end of American intentions of growing profitable. Basically, things are starting to fall apart. You have a place where none of the roads go any further than 50 miles in any direction, and the end of the movie literally puts you in limbo.
Yeah, the title is the ending. The title is the third act.
The title is the ending, and at first I'm like going, God damn it, and then it's like, no, this movie was all about how nobody can get out of second gear.
Right, but that's his entire premise. For me, Platform is a very it's a really rich story. That then I just kind of there's a lot of these movies where I just think nobody really ever came up with an ending and just went, I know, it'll just end.
Yeah, this is a great speaking point.
No, Jenna, no, because you haven't thought about this. I can see it.
I have thoughts about everything. So because I agree with Vanessa, where my initial reaction was to be a little bit turned off by the ending, but then the more I think about it, the more I like it, because in metaphorically, if you go along with the whole thing being allegorical, metaphorical, what have you, then it makes sense that it would be the only way to fix the system is for this older generation to step aside and let something new start over. So if you know, and politically that resonates with us, even though it's not an American film, but it's this idea of like the even the people who think they can do good, it doesn't matter. We have to completely start over. So like, I like that metaphorically, even though I agree when I first saw it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? But like, the more I think about it, the more I like it. And I also have to give it points for that was a movie for me where I have not been able to stop thinking about it. And, you know.
And that's a winner.
And I think to speak a little bit to like how our initial reactions are, and then you kind of go back, I think there are quite a few films where sometimes you do have to almost go back and give it a second watch. And then you can think about it a little bit more, it marinates, and then you're like, oh, okay, you know, and you kind of end up maybe liking something that you didn't initially, or
unless it's an Ari Lehman film, because he cannot end a movie.
No, you mean Ari Aster, sweetie.
Ari Aster.
Sorry.
Yes.
I was like, who is this Lehman individual?
No, not the first Jason in First Friday 13th, sweetie.
I knew the name somewhere, and I knew
you did know the name, but no, Ari Aster.
And now, folks, I want to give a hero's farewell to Carrie. Carrie has announced that she's got to get down and settle.
Yes.
Love you, Carrie.
Sweet dreams.
Night, Carrie.
It's 3 in the morning here, so I'm going to go and get my lot settled because they're still thinking it's summer holidays here and still up.
Yes.
Damn Skippy.
Yes, and I've got a couple of horror films I want to watch. So.
Perfect.
Yes, so I'm highly humbled and honoured to have been here, and thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, thanks for joining.
You're welcome, Carrie.
Thank you so much.
You're a
Thank you
doll,
so much.
baby.
Nice to
Don't-
meet you.
Take care and be safe.
Oh,
well.
I am. I've been hunkered down for 8 weeks today. So, yes, yeah, we're doing well. So,
Good.
yes, okay, guys. Thank you. Lots of love from England and take care.
You too.
Bye.
Be well.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
And this is my first ever Zoom, so I've done pretty well considering this
Oh, yeah.
conference. I'm learning quickly. All right, guys. Take
All right.
care. Lots of love. Bye.
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 So speaking of Ari Aster, I didn't
Yes.
see Midsummer. I know that was
Ugh.
like all the rage.
Yeah.
I did see Hereditary.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Ordinary People meets Rosemary's Baby meets.
Well, I don't understand what was going on. And I don't mean that like I didn't get it. I don't understand the choices that were made.
Are you talking about the
So-
ending of that one?
Oh, well, don't get
Yeah.
started
You
on the
mean,
ending.
you mean when it shits the bed?
It's the
You mean
bed.
that ending?
Absolutely.
It totally shit the bed. And I don't get, I mean, the thing that drew me into it, one, I think that was a film that probably suffered from too much hype.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Because
The
I went
scariest film
into it-
since The Exorcist.
Yeah,
Well,
I was like, oh, I better have a nightmare.
I
And
bet I
No.
better have a fucking nightmare. God damn it.
I have a tradition with all my friends that, you know, when a horror movie comes out, I like to get everybody together. We go to the movies, and, you know, whoever drops their popcorn first is my closest friend. So, you know, we all went, and there was like nobody in the theater. Nobody was going. There were like 9 of us in the row, and some of the people were like, oh, you know, freaking out. And I'm sitting there, I was like, oh my God, I think something's wrong with me. Like, I'm not scared at all. I'm not even bothered by any of this outside of the, you know,
Yes.
Right.
that
Yes.
was the only moment in
Right.
the film where I was like, oh shit. And I thought it was going to take off, and it didn't. It, like,
I
you
have
said,
a
shit
theory
the bed.
about this.
Well, I would like to hear it.
Yeah. So I have a theory that the reason it was so overhyped and the reason everyone was calling it so scary was I think that that's because it was released and marketed to people that don't typically go to horror movies. And so I think people like all the nerds in here that watch a ton of horror movies were like, wait, I don't understand.
Yeah.
But people that don't typically watch horror movies were like, whoa, because they haven't been exposed in the same way.
Right.
That's my theory.
Right.
Because it was
Yeah, I've
marketed
heard
like a mainstream
You might be
horror.
right.
I've heard a
'cause
lot of bad comments about that movie.
I loved Midsommar, but Hereditary, I was
Oh,
kind of.
no. What?
No.
Okay, I just want to know, what is his thing with naked old people? Nobody wants to look at naked old
But
people.
that's why.
Ari
Wait, but that's
Aster
why he
does.
does it. That's why
I
he does
know.
it.
But
Right.
it's
You know,
not.
people need love
It's not
too.
scary. It's just kind of gross.
It's his Polanski moment. You know,
Yeah,
he's
but
got-
and
goes
it's
for that
always sexual.
disturbing
So
look.
I
Right,
wonder
but
if
Polanski,
you know, he has a
Polanski could
grandma
do that.
complex.
Wait, Polanski could do that without taking everybody's clothes off.
Yeah, true.
Polanski
Very
was elegant in the way that he handled that,
Mhm.
and
Oh, yeah.
look, I think it's funny because you were talking about seeing movies over again and having a different appreciation for them. And the thing is, with Hereditary, I've seen it several times now, and I had to force myself to rewatch.
Yeah.
Because the end of the movie, beyond the fact that it is truly, he's become the Quentin Tarantino of horror movies, where it's like, I'm just going to rip off everybody else's shit and
Right.
say it's original, and it's just not. But where Tarantino can find tremendous style and substance in his dialogue and in the way he builds his characters. Hey, by the way, I'm not a Tarantino fan. I'm actually helping
really?
Vanessa out. I'm helping
Okay.
Vanessa out with this.
Okay. All right. All right.
Trust me on this.
It's
I am
fine.
not a Tarantino fan.
Okay. Thank
He
you for
doesn't need
at
anyone
all.
to defend him. He's doing just fine.
My favorite Tarantino movie is True Romance because he didn't direct it.
Yeah, that's a great film.
Because
I
it
do
took
love
his script and went,
True
okay, this guy writes great dialogue. Let somebody else sit in the director's chair and actually learn how to edit down and consolidate these ideas into something that actually makes a movie. But
I'm
the thing
sweating
about
again.
Astor is that, so I watched Hereditary a couple times.
The thing about Astor, that sounds like a film.
Wow.
Each time Hereditary got better from a filmmaking standpoint.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Like the structure is incredible. The problem is his ending, which is staring him right in the face. The end of that movie, because he made a movie about grief, which, by the way, every
Mhm.
movie he makes is about grief.
Right.
He made a movie about grief and then didn't end it about grief. He ended it and went, and Rosemary's Baby meets Exorcist 3 and go. Instead of, why isn't Toni Collette just murdering her family? Why isn't this whole thing in Toni Collette's head and she's the one who's just fucking destroyed her own family
Mhm.
out of her grief, out of the monstrous feelings she's having?
Oh, that's interesting. I like that.
Her
But,
setting.
but I do have to wonder if it was some sort of studio intervention though, because
It
when
was
you watch,
not.
No.
But if you go back and find, because all of his old short films are online.
Yes.
Yeah,
And they're great. They're great.
Like when you said the strange thing about Astor, the strange thing about the Johnsons
It's the best movie he's made.
Oh my God.
It's by far his best movie.
Twisted. It's incredible. And yeah, his shorts are insane and so well done. So I just wonder.
I read the original script of Hereditary. It's that movie.
Oh, okay.
And by the way, listen, guess what? The movie was a success. He has a successful career. You can't argue with that. It's like, listen, okay, so that's my opinion, whatever. He's doing what he wants to do, which is great. My problem with Midsommar.
I get started.
I mean, look, I knew he was going to just do a wholesale ripoff of The Wicker Man. What I didn't know was that he was going to be doing a wholesale ripoff of the remake of The Wicker Man. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's funny.
And
Complete with a bear.
Like, by the way, doesn't and again, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm just a dumb dude, but I got to tell you, I find his movies incredibly hateful towards women. Like really hateful. Where I'm like, dude, get into a decent relationship or reconcile with your mom and then write something. Like, it's very angry about women.
That's very interesting that you say that, because I hear so often the opposite, which
Yeah,
is
I
this
have
is a
not
movie
had that
about
experience.
the bad breakup. You know, it's always about this is a happy ending because the woman finally gets out of the cycle of these shitty boyfriends.
Wait. You mean the shitty boyfriend who stays with her even when, let's be honest, that is a person who is just a tragedy machine.
Yeah, and therein lies a very interesting story about the difference in how people are reading film these days, because that is the thing that when
I
watch,
hated that guy.
Yeah,
he's a douche.
Yeah,
he's a douche.
The milquetoast,
but he doesn't deserve to be set on fire
in a bear costume.
In a bear costume. But beyond that, I do not like movies where people are stupid.
Right, I agree.
Every single person was like,
"Yep,
why wouldn't you leave?"
Yep.
Immediately, why wouldn't you? And they all come up with some bullshit reason to hang out and be there when it does not make sense. I would much rather have them try to leave and then not be able to, but at least they're active about it. Then get me started.
This is awesome, actually, because there's a couple things that we're talking about. I think are really juicy themes. One of which is that I've seen it for a while, where we have these wonderful premises in film and even in short series and things such as, where they do such a great job of drawing me in. They have truly spectacular ideas, and no one can stick an ending anymore. Nobody's sticking the landing. And I'm wondering why that's happening so much. Even the house, the Haunting of Hill House that was done.
Yeah.
I was like, I was great with all the changes. You know, it's one of my favorite books and everything. It's fantastic. I was fine with all the changes until you changed the metaphor of the house, what it stands for in the last episode. And I was like, what is this? And it was like this strange, weird kind of, we want to make you feel a little bit better, like you've come out the other side. And I was like, this doesn't make any sense. And there is, I see this over and over where there's a lack of strength of the conviction of going for the nasty ending. You know, the ending somehow is getting watered down, or people aren't going for a strong ending. And I'm not quite sure why I'm seeing so much of that.
But Jenna, because I'm actually fascinated because I know what my opinion is on the movie, but you love it. Why? Like, what is it that affects you that gets you excited about it? Because I'm more interested in knowing why.
Midsummer?
Yeah.
So I mean, I liked that it was a horror movie in the daylight.
Awesome.
Totally. I liked that a lot. I haven't watched it a second time, so it's possible that some of my love for it might not hold up. I think I also partially liked it because I didn't love Hereditary, and so I was like, the bar was not, I didn't go in with the same sort of hype. I think it's interesting that you say that about women, because that scene at the end where they're all, bye.
Bye, everybody. Yeah, before we go too far, I just wanted to say thank you to Jason Bradford and Larry Greenstein for coming by. You guys
and Rick Sarah.
And Rick Sarah, yes, in the background there. So,
yeah, baby. Rick, how did you break your foot? How did you break your foot?
I broke my foot at work.
On someone's head.
Oh, okay.
Don't fuck with them at work.
No.
Kick somebody in the head.
Yeah, you need a really good story and you need to have it ready to go. How did you break your foot?
It's like you broke it in someone's ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Just don't break it off in someone's ass.
Exactly.
No, it was at work. It was between me and my boss. Things got nasty, and yeah.
Seriously?
It's an interesting story.
It was self-defense.
Yeah,
self-defense.
Okay, there's a story here, and we're not hearing it. There's just
you're gonna leave.
Yeah.
No, no. I want to
talk
hear
about leaving an ending open.
Yeah.
No,
Is your boss a Brahmin bull? I mean, what is it?
No, he's a
I broke some
25-year-old.
bones in a fight.
No, he's a 25-year-old cunt. It was the beginning of when things started getting serious at the stores with this whole COVID thing. When the rules and regulations started coming out, when you can only have a certain amount of people in the store. And when we unload a truck, I was unloading the trucks, and the product would come in. Well, he would let the people come around to the truck to the point he wouldn't shut the store down. People were ransacking the truck. They were coming in through the building. They were stealing shit. So he was doing stuff like that. And on the inside of the, like I said, on the inside of the store, he just wasn't taking any precautions, and we got into an argument about it. And one thing led to another, and that was the end of my career at the store.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude.
After you kicked him?
no, he went at me first. So
Yeah.
I just had to put it to bed.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked with him for 5 years.
Always unstable.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Dude, I'm sorry, brother, because you're one of the most like level-headed guys I know, and so I know that.
Like I said, it was self-defense, but I got sick and tired of jeopardizing my health going to work, and then him just not following
the
procedures that you're supposed to do to keep everybody safe.
Right.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for
But
you.
yeah, that's how I broke my foot.
Sorry,
I'm not
brother.
a violent person. I thought it was self-defense. I promise.
This,
Yes.
when this
we
is
know
over, you will get another job. Trust me.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I still working at the bus yard, so
Yeah.
I still get paid from there. So it's all good. I'm all right. I'm hanging in there.
All
Things are
right.
good.
Jason, you guys take care of yourselves, okay?
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yes, you all too.
Thank you, folks, for showing up. It was really great to see you
Yeah,
again.
thanks.
Thank you for having us.
You guys have a good night.
Good
night.
night.
Good. Love you guys.
Love y'all.
So Jenna, you were saying Midsummer.
Oh,
Yes,
I
Midsommar.
just that I
Excited.
won't, go on and on about this, but that scene where they're all grieving together and
Yes.
and breathing like one organism, that's
Mhm.
I haven't seen anything like that, and that really resonated with me because I've seen a lot of movies pretend like they're showing women. Oh, hey, welcome back.
Oh, hello.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Allie.
I brought my cape this time.
Very fancy.
At
fancy
first, I
dress.
thought it was a robe. I was like, "Ooh,
We're
this is
talking.
that kind of party."
We're talking.
That kind of party.
Damn, Skip. There she
la-
is. We're
the
talking.
ladies' man, but the
we're talking
ladies'
Midsummer.
woman.
We're talking Midsummer, and Jenna is giving us her thoughts on why she liked the movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I just I liked the way they depicted a willful ending of life. And I like the comments that he made about how things that we see as savage are perhaps just cultural differences, and vice versa. And yeah, that scene with the women at the end, I've seen so many movies that pretend that they're showing women banding together,
Right.
and are just ring very false. And so that moment felt like the definition of that for me. But
Yeah. No.
it might not hold up if I watched it again. But those are my favorite parts about it. And yeah, but I agree that all of his stuff is about grief. And also, I hope he doesn't work on his mommy issues, because then his movies won't be as good.
and I don't know. I love the
He'll
idea.
have other issues. I think he'll be fine.
I mean,
with
that's
issues.
Yeah, I
probably
think-
true.
Dave Miller, I see you got to go too. Hey, thanks so much for coming by. Thank you for spending some time with
Yeah.
us. You have anything you want to
for,
end with?
letting me in. I enjoy it. Thank you.
Awesome,
Good night now.
Dave. Good seeing
Nice
you,
to
brother.
see you again, Dave.
Nice to meet you.
See you.
It's a great pleasure. It was a great pleasure. So I'm interested too, because I read a lot of comedy, dark comedy, into Midsommar. And especially in dealing with, there's another trend. We were talking about not being able to stick the landing in films, but there's a trend towards more of the environment being, or nature itself being, a character or something that is going to actually be part of the script or the storyline. It's going to impact the story. And so this kind of comedic look at what is now being considered folk horror. I wanted to talk folk horror while we had someone from Britain here, because that's like the hometown of where Blood on Satan's Claw and everything first started. And you have all these movies that keep going through the years, Wicker Man being probably the most esoteric and loved of them. But there's been a whole start with Ben Wheatley. Ben Wheatley's Kill List and A Field in England. Even his one High Rise has a concept of nature really taking over in these spots again. And then you have The Hollow, an Irish horror film with where the wood imps and everything are coming up, but it's really about the logging that's happening in there. And so I saw that there was a humorous, almost like a sarcastic look at that, and the idea of cults in Midsommar, which is kind of like also a low budget indie film called 1BR, which is about a 1-bedroom apartment building in LA where everybody has to like you to allow you in there.
Did you like that?
I did. I liked it.
Did you like that movie? Okay, because it's funny that you mentioned that, because literally this morning somebody told me I need to watch that movie. And now
I don't want to tell you anything about it.
I've heard it again.
Yeah,
okay.
It's really, it's got some similarities to some of the things that you really like about Midsommar are in that film as well.
All right, cool. I'll have to check it out.
It's this little entity that is a group of people that are living in this place, kind of a little Rosemary's Baby-ish in the cliquishness of everybody and how everybody knows everyone in this little community that everybody's living in. And I saw that in Midsommar as well, that yes, we're also at the same point while he's saying, sometimes it's just a difference of culture. It's also sometimes it's fucking people hitting people in the heads with sledgehammers after they fall off of a giant cliff and they don't die. I mean, that was absolutely disturbing. And in a way, and I'm mentioning Polanski again, but there are things about this guy. He's not Polanski, first off, but there are things that he does where he goes for the horrible, beautiful that I really adore about his work, which is he goes to the grotesque and he finds the humor in the grotesque. And and one of the great masters of dark humor is Polanski in his films. And so there are moments in Midsommar that I felt that as well. I kind of felt that there was a reading of that film, which was more about the dangers of the family outside of the family, the cult. Yeah. And so I didn't see it as the happy ending, but I know that that's another thing that has been read. A lot of my friends who are feminists who love that film because they feel that that's, as you mentioned, the depiction of women in unity seemed as if it was hitting them correctly in that. The way that the boyfriend was shown, they saw him as like, wow, when things were at their worst for her, he's ready to leave. He's already got one eye looking over here. Whereas another group of people, and sometimes I think it's generational, are looking at him like, you know, he hung out much longer when this woman was just as someone mentioned, a drama machine. It's two different readings of the same film. And sometimes it's really interesting how I see that. I saw it with Joker. Joker is another movie that is read differently by different groups of people, different generations. And, you know, I watched it and I was like, well, shit, I've seen Buddy Ginevazzo's movie about the Vietnam vet shell shock, combat shock from the 80s.
Combat Shock.
Plus I've seen Taxi Driver. Yeah. Combat Shock. And I've seen The King of Comedy and I've seen Taxi Driver.
I was going to say King of Comedy.
Yeah. It has a very philosophical difference from those films. Those guys aren't right in those films, but in this film there is a feeling like, no, well, this is like Berlin in Caligari time. This world is destroyed. It needs a Joker. It created a Joker, and that was very disturbing to me when I first watched it, because that is a philosophical difference that I see from a viewing of people maybe in different strata or just a different viewpoint, which I think is somewhat refreshing. I needed to look at it with new eyes because people were going, this is amazing. And I was like, but I've seen this film before. And then it was like, well, wait a second, this ending is really disturbing. So what do you think about that? That there are some movies that we're philosophically seeing differently. I almost feel like Joker's kind of like, because it made $1 billion fucking dollars. This is not like an underground film like Buddy Ginevazzo's film. This is a movie that talked to people on a level that hasn't been talked about in a long time. This is an R-rated film that did this. This is like when Easy Rider became a hit out of fucking nowhere. You know, not that this was going to be out of nowhere. It's a DC movie and stuff, but it's the first DC movie that absolutely hates, or Marvel movie that hates its legacy. It doesn't want to have anything to do with the Joker, really. It makes Gotham into a dump. It makes the Waynes into ineffectual, useless fiddle while Rome burns people. It's a really interesting and disturbing film coming out at a time when we've got the screen.
Sure. However, it's also a big fucking excuse movie. It's an excuse movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's allowing for you know, an angry white man to do angry white man shit because he feels he hasn't been given what he's owed, or he hasn't been. And by the way, what it started to say about mental health, I thought was exciting and beautiful. And like, I was like, okay, this movie I'm psyched about. Like, I want to see a movie that actually deals with mental health issues. It doesn't, because it becomes a fucking comic book movie. It's a violent comic book movie, but it's still a comic book movie. And I don't know, man. I think that movie, I think its success is not predicated on its tapping into something that's real. I think it's tapping into an audience of people that, let's, for example, say, voted for our current administration, even though our current administration is the actual villains that they're talking about in this movie. The rich white guy. Like, the Waynes are the evil in the movie. And I'm sitting there going, so wait, you think the guy you voted for isn't that? He is that. But I find that movie to be like where King of Comedy, most specifically, and Taxi Driver both talked about the outsider in a world that had no use for them, that wouldn't listen to them, where you have, I mean, again, mid 70s to early 80s, you've got a lot of people who felt disenfranchised because they picketed for years about Vietnam, and that's not what stopped Vietnam. What stopped Vietnam was that mom and dad in the Midwest saw their kid come home in a body bag on the news. It wasn't, the protests didn't do shit. It's when Mom and Pop America went, wait a second, Junior's dead and I have to watch it on CBS. That's what changed that war. So I think it was a society of people who really felt like they had no choices. I think that the Joker is an excuse for people who want to be violent to go, look, see, that's the right way to go. Chaos. And
I just
man,
go ahead. I thought you were done.
No, I'm sorry. I was waxing. Please.
No. I just found the movie so cynical, and not a single likable character in the movie except for maybe the little person.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I think it's
to
really...
me that's not an enjoyable viewing experience if I don't like or care about anybody in the movie because everyone is the villain.
Well, that's the thing. I went to see it at a cinema with a bunch of horror fans before a convention started. It was Thursday night. Convention starts on Friday, and we had this thing where we would always go see a horror movie. And we went to see Joker. And everyone, I mean, and these are some very liberal people, younger than me. And I was the one, I kind of went out and I said, this feels irresponsible at the end. Normally, even Travis Bickle, we realized that that's not the way you're supposed to go at things. It's a cinema of loneliness, but it doesn't promote that. And this seemed to promote. And I was like, man, I felt like the odd man out. So I had to look at it in various different directions. And it's interesting, Adam, the way that you're talking about it, because that's the other response. I've had such impassioned responses of support for that film and love for that film that it spoke to them in a way that movies hadn't spoken to them. That this is like what was said about Platform before, which is old people got to die down on the 350th floor. It doesn't work. They did everything, including beat people up on the way down. What you need is the kid to go all the way up and let the chips fall where they may. That's a reading of that film. And I think that there's a reading of Joker that is also, it's kind of like how nobody understood Easy Rider if he were over 30 when that movie came out. I think there may be something that's happening there where, and I think what you're hitting on is certainly something that's worth talking about, which is the idea that it feels like an excuse to go out and do this stuff. Is it a cry of anger and futility, or is it an excuse? And I think that's a very interesting conversation that maybe, it's also the thing of, does that movie go anywhere if the name Arthur Fleck, if he doesn't wear that face paint and an orange suit, and green hair, if he doesn't have that message of anarchy, which is what the Joker has become over the years. He's not just insanity, but now he's become anarchy since Dark Knight. Heath Ledger's performance kind of moved that in that direction, where he became an icon of that. Does that movie make $1 billion if you remove all of that? Or is it that you need to have this weird mixture? Right. That's how I look
if
at
it's not called Joker, that movie is yet another Joaquin Phoenix art house film that makes $40. He made a movie last year, the year before Joker, forgive me, that was truly yes.
And that is by a
remake,
magnificent
and that's
director.
Really Taxi Driver. And that's truly Taxi Driver. I was like, I watched the movie. I was like, how the fuck am I not hearing about this? Like, what? I got it as a screener for the awards. And I watched the movie purely for that reason. And I went, why isn't anyone talked about this? This is a really powerful, amazing movie. And for me, Joker was empty. It was just empty calories. So I was like, oh, the white dude's pissed off because the world didn't treat him well enough. Like, I was like, what am I watching? And why do I care? Travis Bickle, ultimately, as awful and broken as he is, he does save Jodie Foster. He does think he's righting a wrong. He does think he's making the world slightly better, even though he's in hell and he's the problem. but there is some
Nice.
character change and choice. And I just felt, and again, look, it made $1 billion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's one of those things, though, that you mentioned, the Joaquin Phoenix film. That is written and directed by the same director who did We Need to Talk About Kevin, which is another fucking amazing
I
movie.
love
Which is
We
a
Need
great
to talk
movie.
about Kevin.
Yeah.
because
She
it's
is
a great movie. That's a
fantastic.
great movie.
Yes,
That's a great movie.
absolutely fantastic film.
It really is.
And a film many people won't call a horror film. And I'm like, no, how could you not call that a horror film? What do you think?
Well,
horror
I
is
get it. I
about?
mean, I get it. But it's not. I mean, but it really is. I mean, in the technical sense of horror, I get why people wouldn't call it that. But I think that's a movie about mental health that really has
Yes.
something to fucking say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
She's
and
a
talk about
badass.
mom.
Yes.
Tilda Swinton.
So we have a
she's
couple of
alien.
comments. Trying to
Yay.
keep track of the people tuning in.
Yes,
Greg
thank
Gilbert
you.
said, "You want to see a woman in power film? My favorite is Miss 45."
Mm,
Do you
It's a
guys
great
know this
movie.
film?
Ooh, it's a
great.
great
love
movie.
this
movie.
Yeah,
Never
it's really, really cool
I've
film.
never seen it.
I have not seen it
so
either.
good.
Add
Well,
it to
you can
my
borrow it from me.
list.
Well, yeah, if you
Not
want
a
to see a woman in
shocker.
power film, go watch Alien.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I really
Adam, I need to
appreciate Miss
come
45.
by and I need to come by your and just like grab a stack of like films to watch.
Yeah, and make
Just do
copies of them and send them to me.
Okay.
Anything apparently.
Well, we'll just make you a little stack and
yeah.
put it on the front porch, and you can come by and pick it up.
Okay.
Mike,
I'll wear gloves and everything. I'll just socially distance.
And the
Oh, maybe I
mask.
can drop off a hard drive.
Ooh.
Oh, there's a thought.
High tech.
Ooh. This
Mike
30-pound
Kelleher-
hard drive.
Yeah.
Kelleher
no kidding.
jumped in to give some feedback on the Joker discussion. He said the Joker is an antagonist journey, a rebrand of the wild card factor, and is the longest snore of a debate, one which continues every decade or so.
I agree.
I think that's as
121.
I think that's a viable enough response as any response, right?
Sure.
All
And
responses.
Jason
I
Thompson said
enjoyed it, but I also
Ripley.
like to see what everyone's saying about it.
What? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't hear that.
I enjoyed it for the most part, but I also understand everything that you're saying about it. And I don't necessarily, having enjoyed it, I still don't necessarily disagree with what you're saying. I also think it's interesting that it's come up because I wouldn't brand it as a horror movie in my mind. So it's interesting that it's
I don't see it as a horror movie. either.
circulating here.
But you know what?
Wow.
And by the way, just to be completely clear on the record, I think he gives a remarkable performance. Like I can't,
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
of
can't
course.
fault his
He's-
work. His
yeah.
work is amazing.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the
unbelievable
general
always.
consensus of this film is like there's so much like crap that everyone gives the film itself, but his performance is just
Woo.
like beyond.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the whole
It's
merit to me
phenomenal.
of the film is just watching him. Is that's as an
Yes.
actor anyway, like that's what I really
Right.
enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like
Well, that's why
social-
I went and watched it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
see
yeah.
his
me too.
performance.
And it's beautiful.
'Cause it's what everyone
it's a
was
beautiful
talking
piece of
about.
work. As they should,
Still makes
because
me
that's the thing
wanna
worth
take a
talking
shower.
about.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes. Yes. A Silkwood shower.
Yes.
don't know if I
just,
need to mute
I just
myself
feel
with my
dirty
chewing.
after it.
Mm,
What are you chewing?
very
Vanessa?
grimy. Can you hear that? It's really
a
loud, isn't it?
Silkwood shower. I so love it. What do you, Vanessa? Is that you talking? I'm not hearing anything in your background. Is that what you're?
I'm eating a Tums. It's the chewy kind. But I also have like the worst TMJ possible, and my jaw is
Oh.
really, really loud anytime I chew anything. Like it is.
Oh.
So
Yeah, it's not
generally-
outside of you, so we're good. We didn't hear it. In your
Yeah.
head,
We're
it's
good.
really loud. I'm sure. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
yeah, it's crazy. All right.
But But by the
Let's
way,
see,
yes,
who else are we talking?
Alien and Aliens are like the most like kick-ass feminist horror. I mean, Sigourney Weaver is the poster child for all of that.
I fucking love Sigourney Weaver.
She's a. Do you know what's
I wanna
awesome about
be
Sigourney
her.
Weaver? If you ask her for an autograph, all autographs are $2, and she sends all of the money to charity.
Oh,
So
wow.
she'll
She's a
sign
badass for
anything
real.
anywhere, and literally just sends the money to charity. That's
If
been
she's
a
sending
rule
it to
since
charity,
the-
she should
since the
charge
80s.
more than $2.
I know. But
I'm just
but
saying
I mean,
that's who she is. She's
that's
just,
cool.
It is
That's
cool.
cool, though,
She's
yeah.
cool. She's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she's a badass. Yeah.
And I
she's-
think
she's the
Alien
real
is one of those movies too. I mean, that was, correct me if I'm wrong, 1979, right?
79.
Was that
right?
Yep.
Yes.
I mean, it looks
Well
like it
done.
could have been made today. Like it doesn't. I
It
know
holds
some
up.
things.
Magic of practical effects, though. That's the trick
One of the-
with that stuff. You know,
Right.
no
Because I'm
CGI.
thinking about
movies I've seen.
right.
Well,
I
that's-
always
that's
think about
something-
The Thing, the 80s version
Yeah.
of The
Mhm.
Thing. You can watch
Oh,
it
yeah.
now and it
Yes.
still
Oh, yeah.
looks
Oh yeah.
incredible.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So
I remember
Jason
seeing it in
Thompson
the
just
theater.
said. Jason Thompson just said everyone would have survived Aliens if they actually listened to Ripley at the beginning of the film. Lesson to be
Quarantine.
learned there.
Yeah. Everybody just stayed in quarantine, but they had an inside man. They had an inside man. That was the problem.
Yeah.
It was
Well, the
gonna-
greatest
gonna
thing, the greatest thing about Alien, Alien and Poltergeist for me, become the two greatest haunted house movies ever made.
Mm, mhm,
And
mhm.
Poltergeist because you can't leave
Old
the
dark
house
house.
because your daughter has been eaten by the house, so
Right.
you can't leave.
I hate
And because
when that
that's the problem with
happens.
haunted house movies. The haunted house problem is just get the fuck out of the house.
Yeah.
Right.
The greatness of Alien is you can't leave the house. It is just a haunted house movie. It's a haunted house movie in space, but you can't get
Yeah.
away from the ghosts because you're trapped. You're stuck in the house.
That's a really good
And
point.
those are
Now
my
this is
favorite
kind of a
movies.
non-movie question, but you know, we see haunted house movies and we're always like, get out. But put it in real life
out.
terms, because I posed this question to my husband and he thinks I'm nuts. But like, I mean, what would you leave the house? Like that seems so impractical. Like if you think about everything you would really have to do in real life terms, like wouldn't you try to maybe deal with it, or are you getting out?
Get
Because he
out.
told me he's getting the fuck out. He was like, I'm leaving that night. I'm like, I don't know that I would. You got closing costs. You got to find another place. Like, I'm like, it's so exhausting. Like, maybe it's nice.
You remember the old Eddie Murphy bit about that?
Yep.
You know, the
Get out.
the thing where, you know, where it's like, you know, they come in, they're like, oh, it's a great neighborhood. Kids are playing outside, beautiful chandelier. Get out. Too bad we can't stay. And he's like,
Yeah.
that's why you cannot have black leads in a horror movie, because they will just leave. That's the
Yeah, they're
genius of
smarter.
it. Yes, by a lot. Because they go, fuck closing costs, we're leaving.
Yeah.
There was this
Yeah,
horror
but
movie I
this
was
is in
working
movie
on.
terms. Like, what would you guys do? Like, seriously, you wake up, there's a figure at the end of your bed.
I would get the
What do you
fuck
do?
out.
Wait a minute. There's a figure at the end of my bed when I
I
wake
know.
up.
Yeah, there's like a shadow person. There's an apparition just at the end of the bed.
person.
You wake up, it is there.
Have you seen The Invisible Man?
No,
Yeah.
not
The
yet.
new one. Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
No, listen, I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything. I've seen nothing. I don't watch
Vanessa,
movies. I'm not even
before
going
it
to
was
tell you
cool.
what I've been watching.
Yeah.
You
I thought
told
that was
us
such
on
a great.
the preview call. We know.
No,
We know.
Vanessa, I'm with you. Usually I'm with you. I like my roommate has been out. I've been watching. I'm not even gonna tell you what I've been watching, but like, but she came
I'm
back.
about
and
to
she's like,
show
"Let's see
you.
Invisible Man."
A lot of porn. A lot of porn.
So much porn. That's what happens in this.
So
behind
much.
me. That's what we've decided.
What is
Such much
that?
porn.
The Pornhub.
You don't know because you guys have been watching real movies and I have been watching this bullshit. Binging.
Reality?
Yes.
What
Is
is
that
it?
reality?
Yeah. This is what I have become. This is
Ah,
me.
that's funny.
I'm disgusting.
You're amazing.
Wait, why did you bring up the Invisible Man?
Well, there's a part in there where she
Yes.
like the sheet comes off while she's asleep, and
Oh,
there's
yeah.
a couple
Yeah,
of
yeah,
like
yeah.
and I was just so annoyed with that film, like so annoyed with that film. If anybody else has seen it,
I've
I've
seen
seen
it.
I haven't
I've seen it.
seen it yet.
Apparently, I enjoy things everyone else hates and things everyone else loves.
No, I thought a lot of that was good.
I thought there was so much that was good, but the end just had me like, but why? Like, and how did she? And then how did she? And then how did that? None of that. What? None of that makes sense. Like do you know how long it takes to take off a dress and then put it back on? I'm sorry, that doesn't happen that fast. You can't get back into that suit and out of that suit.
That's fair.
Like logistically,
Honestly, yeah.
not cool.
My biggest problem with Joker is that woman next door would not have left her door unlocked.
Never.
Right.
Never.
That's my biggest problem with that
No,
movie.
not
Never. In 19, by the way, I grew up in
Gotham.
1970s New York. Never.
Right. Exactly.
I only
So-
lived in New York for a few years. I still don't. My friend was like, "Oh yeah, just let your dog out on the roof when you're gone. Like open your door." I'm like, "I'm not leaving my door open."
No. I live in Atlanta and I wouldn't do that.
No.
He's
No.
like, "Third floor, you're fine." No.
No.
Okay.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
And Vanessa's now in Vegas, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love that Vanessa's in Vegas.
I like to travel. I like to go places.
Remember
We should all go
traveling?
to Vegas. When we can travel again, let's go to
traveling.
Vegas.
That's the last place I went, and you know what? I think I had it when I came back.
Oh.
I'm not kidding.
Oh.
I think I did. I think I gave it to Eddie too.
Hey.
Oh.
You know,
There's a blessing.
That
every
sickness
cloud
that
has a.
we had.
Yes, that you had. Yes. Yeah, because
No,
you were really
we-
sick. Yes.
I was really
you,
sick.
You were really sick.
And then he
you
was
were
like,
really sick.
"Oh, we're so sick."
No, you were really
Wait.
sick, kiddo.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I thought.
Yeah.
That's why
Yeah.
I'm really interested. I have to take the antibody test tomorrow for work.
Mhm.
Very interested to see
Oh.
what happens there.
Well,
Mine came out
I'm
but a lot-
negative.
interested to know.
I know, but a lot of the
I'm-
tests have been incorrect.
Have been
That's
faulty.
true.
Negative.
That's
Yeah,
true.
False
Yeah.
positives and false negatives somehow. It's amazing.
And also,
You
like,
do-
it doesn't really matter if you've had it. It's
Right.
like
Because they don't know. They don't know if
and
you
can
can't
get
get
it
it again.
again.
And they
yeah,
don't know
right,
if you can
right.
get it again. They're still not sure. So that's the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah. But at
look,
least you'll know whether or not you had it.
That's kind of because I
Right.
really just want to take it to my doctor and be like, see, because I told
Yeah.
him about it. And he's like, he laughed at me. He's old. It's free healthcare.
Well, I ended up getting strep throat right after Women in Horror.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I was like, listen, I clearly am not a doctor, but I know that I have it. So, and they're like, oh no, the swab, it came back negative. And they wouldn't give me the antibiotics. And 4 days later they called, they're like, how you feeling? I was like, awful. I feel awful. Like nothing's better. And they're like, yeah, you got strep. I'm like, I told you I had strep throat. I went to the WebMD. And then I had it twice.
Either that or cancer.
Twice in a row.
I like that you've gotten to that point,
Cancer.
Vanessa, where you're starting to put
Lupus. It's
the in
always
front of
lupus.
things that don't have a the.
Oh,
Yeah, the
I
cancer.
always put listen, I was talking about the Dateline because my son recently lost his phone and it did not have the Find My Phone enabled.
Mhm.
It wasn't on.
It was
So
laggy.
I call
It's laggy.
Verizon.
Good
Yeah.
callback.
Glitchy. That's
It
another
was so
one. It's
glitchy and so laggy. And Apple was like, yeah, we can't help you. And I'm like, you're good for nothing. So I called Verizon and they were like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. And I was like, that's baloney. I've seen the Dateline and like people get caught because you find the phones and they're pinging. Like, can you just, we have the
They're
technology.
pinging.
I
They're
want to
doing the
know how
pinging.
yeah,
The
we're pinging.
The
I have
pinging
a
is happening.
general radius of where it is. Like, what do I need to do? But a good Samaritan found it and left a sign in his yard.
That's,
and
I saw that.
I was
That's
like,
right.
Craig, and I called him.
Oh, so we
Ah,
like
Craig
Craig.
comes back full circle.
Yeah, wait, I'm confused. I
Nice
thought Craig was
story.
not. Okay.
Craig's not allowed.
This is the one good Craig. The one good Craig. She knows.
I can't keep up.
So let's talk about movies. We all have the
Back to
one.
movies.
Yeah. What's the one?
Now that we're done talking about
The sicknesses.
So
The
now we've
illnesses.
gone into the
Dateline.
silly time. This is
Where
when
are we?
everyone's
The
going to
I
be
know.
tuning in.
This is literally like an after party, isn't it?
Yeah, they've gone bananas, and I'm not even drinking.
I'm not drinking either, but I've got something else I'm considering doing.
I'm drinking water.
A really big ham sandwich. No.
No, I'm vegan.
That was, Huh? Really? Yeah, that definitely not. So I was thinking about, I'm trying to get a topic up because I actually was talking to Jenna private and trying to see what I could get her to talk about because I love her opinion on things. And she's talking about time theory stuff. And it made me think about movies that nobody's seen that you love to bring up because you're pretty sure nobody's seen it, that you go, if you watch this, it's going to blow your mind. And one is, oh, well, I'll let Jenna, you wanted to talk about a time theory movie?
Guarantee I haven't seen it.
Not with that
Play
attitude.
anyway. Let's just see.
Vanessa,
I
I'm
thought
with you.
ran a film festival. How come you have not watched any movies?
Because I'm watching all of those movies.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she watches a lot of movies. She watches a lot of
I
movies.
do watch a lot of movies. Just
Right,
none of
yeah,
them are available to the public.
Right.
Have you guys seen? Have any of you? Oh, my cat's pushing the computer. Have any of you seen Triangle?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
hell yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Love that
No.
movie.
Great movie.
It's on Amazon Prime. It'll
Yep.
be there for a long while.
Yep.
Whenever you're done with.
Mystery
you're
boat
on.
movie. Just watch it knowing that. People go onto a mystery boat.
Yeah.
and
Don't look up what it's about.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
Go in
is
blind.
a great movie. It's
I
a great
so
prefer
good.
going in blind.
Yeah.
Melissa
Yeah.
George does her best work
Yeah.
in the movie. I mean, it's really cool. It's a good film.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Absolutely. That really made the movie, how good Melissa was in it. And some visuals,
Yeah.
which were relatively simple visuals, but smart. Two movies that
Yeah.
fall into
Yeah.
that as well. Have you seen Time Crimes? It's Spanish film. Okay.
Yeah, Spanish
No.
movie.
Watch
Yes,
time.
it's terrific. Absolutely
Yeah.
terrific.
Okay,
Another
hold on.
great movie about altering time theories.
That's all you
And
need
another-
to say, and I'm there.
Yep. And the
We
third
just
one
got-
on that, which is a movie called
a little note.
Convergence.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Virgin.
Convergence. It was a
I
movie
haven't seen
that was
Convergence. I've seen Coherence.
Okay. That's
Oh.
amazing,
Coherence is
actually.
great.
Now you guys are just
yes,
saying
Coherence. Yeah, yeah. Convergence is another film. Convergence is another one. That's not as good.
It's a verb.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Coherence.
So let me tell you. Wait, let me tell you a crazy
Is it
story
a
about Coherence.
coincidence?
I have.
Okay, great.
It is.
We're off
Wait,
the
this
rails.
is crazy. I have
Coherence
got.
is
We
great.
are off the rails. Right, Allie? Yeah. I've got a crazy Coherence story. So
Coherence, like
I
related to
had
the movie.
watched- Totally.
hope
No,
so.
it is. You hope so. What?
not personally, not personally coherent. That's what she was getting. I don't know.
No,
I
it's
thought
yeah.
was-
That's good. It's
it
really
was a
good.
joke, Adam.
I was asking about the movie.
No,
but
no,
that's
I know
very
it's a
funny.
joke, and I'm commenting on the quality of the joke, which was really good. Anyway,
Turning my
here's the
video
thing.
off.
Oh
Coherence.
no! She chased her away.
She's so funny.
That's
She is
dark
funny. She has to go
and just
pee or something. I know.
asked
Oh,
if
oh,
anyone
oh.
has seen The Keep.
Yes.
I have.
Yeah,
Michael
of course.
Mann film.
Michael Mann.
Yeah.
Michael Mann's first movie.
No, I have not seen The
Yeah.
Keep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
a
goodness.
mess,
Rassalon.
but it's an interesting mess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a visually
Interesting
But
mess.
interesting
I've been
mess.
called the
Mess.
same thing. I want to hear.
I hear there's
hear
this
your
movie
story.
called
Crazy story
Coherence.
about coherence.
All right,
I
go
know,
back
I
to
wanna hear your
coherence.
story.
You do
So-
coherence. I'm gonna go refill.
Oh my God! Look at you! Look
Get
at
one
you,
for me.
smarty pants. So here's what happens. My office. I have two offices in our house. My office downstairs is in our garage, and the reason is because it's a huge space, and I can open up and have an open air office, which I prefer. Right. So I'm down in my office, and I'm working I'm using my editing computer, and I was watching, a buddy of mine had put on his Plex the movie Coherence. This is before anybody was talking about this movie. So I check out the film. I watch it randomly. I just see this thing and it looks interesting. I was like, okay, cool. So I watched the movie and I absolutely fucking loved it. Like, I just thought, like, this is a tremendous movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I finished the film, and the next day I'm sitting in the same spot, and my next door neighbor right across from me is Michael Rady, who was one of the leads of our last film of Secret Santa. So Michael Rady and I had become really close friends, and he had a couple. He's an actor, and he's that guy. He's for people who love the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, he's Custis. But he was in the remake of the Melrose Place show, and I mean, he's that guy. He's just that guy. So Michael was having friends over from Jane the Virgin, and he was one of the leads of season 1 of Jane the Virgin. So the lead of the first season comes over to see him with his wife, and Michael called me. He's like, "Hey, I want to bring my friends over. Are you going to be in the office?" I said, "Yeah." So I open up the garage, and they walk over. And as they're nearing, the woman looks incredibly familiar to me. And I'm like, I'm meeting them. They're lovely. I'm talking with them. It's terrific. And I'm like, wait a second. I said, I said, this is going to sound nuts. I said, "Are you an actor?" And she's like, yeah, I am. I said, you in the movie Coherence? She's like, what? How do you saw Coherence? I'm like, oh my God, yes. I watched it last night. I told my wife about it, had her come down and watch it with me. I said, I watched it twice in one night. She's like, yeah, that's my movie. She was the lead of the fucking movie. And she's standing in the garage right in front of where I was watching the movie the night before. I had no,
wow.
I hadn't spoken the words yet. And it was amazing because I was looking for the lead of a project we're working on that when I saw the movie Coherence, I was like, oh my God, this is the girl. Like, I should write this movie for her. She's fucking brilliant. And she's exactly what I'm looking for the movie. And I'm standing there with her in my garage the next night after having seen the film back to back twice and dragging Deb down to watch the thing.
That is a coherence coincidence.
So that is a coherent. Thank you very much. And there we go.
You win.
Oh,
Whatever
wow.
this is, you win it.
I'm just saying.
I gotta bounce, guys. I gotta eat something before my next Zoom meeting. So
Oh yeah.
love to
Lovely to
all.
meet you.
Right. It's dinnerish time there.
Yes, but
It is,
you guys
but
keep talking.
Deb's
Have
got
a good time.
Deb's got a howling at the moon. They're doing a all-female
Full moon
what is a meditation,
ceremony.
right? Full moon meditation.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
That's awesome. Have a good one. I love
Is that with
Thanks.
Jessica?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Jess,
Well, thank you for
Melinda.
joining us in the silliness.
Well, thank you for asking me. It's great to see you guys again.
Yes, you too.
Bye.
Bye, baby.
So a few people over on the Facebook.
The Facebook.
The
Facebook.
Facebook. It's come on. It is way more fun to put the in front of everything.
It is.
I mean,
Absolutely.
wouldn't you want to be the Atom?
I concur.
Aren't I?
The
I thought I
You're
was.
the Adam.
He is the Adam.
The Adam. I'm the Vanessa.
I
And
knew- wait,
over
I
on the
knew-
Facebook, we've got some, I guess, movie people asking if we've seen. There's a Shaw Brothers film, Bewitched. Anyone? Anyone?
I don't think I've seen
You
it.
know, I haven't
That's
seen
the
it.
Asian one, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
can't-
Shaw Brothers.
Probably.
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I've seen that one.
I
This
love
is
the Shaw
from-
Brothers. I don't know if I've seen Bewitched.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've seen unless it has a different
Mike-
name. Sometimes it's different names.
Mike Wright, he might need to join us then and discuss.
Yeah, come
Be
on,
brave.
Mike.
Come in.
Right? You want to do
on,
that?
Mike
We're still
Wright.
going to talk some. We're going to do some time stuff too. Have you guys seen The Endless?
Yes.
Yeah.
But did you see
Love.
Resolution first?
Yes.
Yes.
First, I saw Resolution first.
Okay, good.
And Spring, which is not of that mix, but I think
Yeah.
they made 3 really
Yeah.
magnificent films. You didn't like Spring that much?
I I just with Spring, I'm like, this woman has been alive for thousands of years and
falls
she's
for that
never
schlep.
fallen in love. And this is the guy. This is the guy that she
That's
falls in love with for
awesome.
first
The
time.
guy from Dead Girl. Yeah.
I
yeah.
feel like
that's
that's
awesome.
my life though, Jenna. Like,
Was it about you? Was that you?
it's like, yeah, this guy really? That's the one.
Well, and also I like that movie. She was such an interesting character.
Yeah.
I would have rather the movie had been about her. I didn't care about this other guy. So
I agree. I don't think of it
That
as
was
his
my-
story. That's what's strange is that when I think
Yeah.
about that movie, I think more of like it's another one that I say is almost folk horror
Yeah.
because
it's almost
the area
yeah.
matters. Yeah. You have this whole thing of hybrids. It's all about
Mm-hmm.
hybridization, right? Somehow there's the ability for gods to become part human and apples to become part pear or whatever that weird tree
Right.
was. And I love where those guys tend to take stories and they're incredibly cheaply made. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
make movies on a lot of cash. And Resolution was nothing.
Oh
and
yeah.
that was such an amazingly funny and
Really,
creepy
really well
film.
done.
Yeah, so smart. You don't know what you're in until
Mhm.
about the 60-minute mark, and by then you're like, "Oh, fuck, this movie's crazy." So I
Mhm.
love that. Who was it that was saying about a movie and they didn't come in? How dare they? So somebody
Not yet.
Buford T. Justice, my favorite lawman. Did you discuss the film XX yet or The Scribbler? I don't know The Scribbler, but XX was an interesting film. My favorite part of it.
one.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, this is your time. Talk about it. This is
Yes,
it.
go.
Oh, I can't. Too much pressure.
Just so much.
It's so good. The
Actually,
part,
we were all just in our little preview discussing
Yeah.
the box, which
Yeah.
I mean, yes, that was probably also my personal favorite of the shorts.
Wait, which one was the box?
first- it
Oh,
was the
okay.
first one
Okay.
I don't remember. I don't
Ba-
remember the
ba-
order.
yeah.
They were
based on the
in.
Jack Ketchum story, and it's the one where
Yeah.
the kid is on the subway and
Yes.
he opens
Yeah,
up the
that's
box.
right.
And
Mhm.
that was really, really good. But the action one was really good. The St. Vincent one was really good. I like that.
The St. Vincent
'cause
one
of
was
the
my
comedy.
favorite. Yeah, we talked about that.
Mhm.
Visually. But does anybody know The Scribbler? I don't know this film.
Not heard of that.
Well,
Oh,
I guarantee.
I own-
Come on in,
God,
Buford.
if you don't know it, I don't know it.
I own a copy of it and I've never watched it.
Oh,
It is sitting in my library. It is
Oh, well, we
literally
need to
sitting in
have
my
a
library.
watch party.
I will have to
watch
watch
party.
it. That's it. I just wrote it down. And I'm gonna totally watch it. Scribbler done.
There we go.
Mm.
Buford, thank you so much. We needed that.
Thank you, Buford.
Is it Buford or Buffon?
Wait,
Before-
did we finish going around and saying a movie that you love that you don't think anyone's heard of? Because
Oh,
mine
no,
was
no.
Triangle.
Yeah,
Ooh.
Triangle was one.
Oh.
And
I thought
Triangle
that
was
was in
really
the
good.
the
God, is
context
that
of
good.
time stuff. But I watch a lot more like TV. I don't know. I'm really interested in the episodic versions of like horror stories because it's one thing to
Okay.
wrap it up in a tiny bow, and then it's another thing to kind of like extend it and see where it goes. So like as far as like time stuff, I don't know if you watch 12 Monkeys. the
Mhm.
the TV,
The series.
the series. I
Yeah.
loved that. I really
I
loved
thought
it.
it was
It's kind of the butterfly
actually think
effect.
I think it's better. I think the TV series is better than the movie.
Way better than the movie. I like the back and forth, and like you change a little bit here and then it changes all this out here. It's that's the butterfly effect part of it. You know
What network is this? Where is it?
It was Sci-Fi. It was on Sci-Fi.
It was
That's who
Sci-Fi, yeah.
produced it. It was, I think,
But I
a
think it's
Canadian
on
production.
Hulu now.
Yeah,
I think it's on
Okay.
Hulu now.
I don't
it's
get
good.
Hulu.
It's really good.
The Hulu.
The
The
Hulu.
Hulu.
Yeah.
It's on the Hulu.
It's on the Hulu.
On the Hulu.
Is it on the streaming?
I think
I
it's
got
on
the
the
Netflix.
streaming on the Hulu.
Is it
I
on
got
the,
the Netflix,
streaming?
the Shudder, the Amazon, and the Peacock.
Oh, if you have Shutter,
And the
I've got
Peacock.
one.
Yeah.
If you have
Ooh,
Shutter,
tell me.
this movie
I do have Shudder.
called I've heard you've got Shutter. So listen, there's this movie called Perfect. Have any of you seen this?
The John Travolta, Jamie Lee Curtis workout.
Oh,
film
that's-
from 83.
No, but
I
that's,
remember that one.
That's
What?
hysterical.
That is
unfortunately,
hard.
no.
What?
I don't. It's a
Oh.
it's
Age for that.
What's the
Okay, perfect.
What's the premise?
it's very philosophical. It's very visual. I'm not even sure I would classify it as. I mean, it's kind of horror. It's genre bendy. It's like fantastical and horror and sci-fi and horror. And it's just about this kid fucks up, and instead of going to prison, his mom sends him to this like rehab center, but it's like you upgrade, you like instead of growing, you upgrade, you like install upgrades.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to describe, and the plot almost isn't important, but it's very, very
Okay,
interesting.
perfect.
And
All right.
I really,
It goes
Yeah,
on the list.
perfect.
I keep screaming at other people to watch it because I can't tell if I'm just crazy or if it's actually really good, but I love it.
Those
So
things don't have to be irrespective. So
Yeah.
I can't tell if both are true. Neither are true. They're true, but in different ways. I
All
just
right.
don't know anymore.
it's on the list.
So if
On the
all of
list.
you could watch it and then tell me what you think, we can meet back here in a month.
I
Yeah,
have
I will be
so
happy.
many movies to watch.
I have like a CBS receipt of suggestions.
I know. Like where I'm gonna. Is there a
CBS
Cliff
indeed.
Notes
Have
version?
you watched Revenge yet?
Yes.
Which
You talking to
one?
me?
I'm talking to anyone.
Adam
General
has
populace?
given me some
I have.
homework, and
Yeah,
I haven't
love Revenge.
done it yet, and he's
I
gonna kick
begged
me out of
Vanessa
his
to watch
class.
Revenge. I begged her. I begged her to watch Revenge.
Here's
Um,
part of my problem. I do
yes.
watch a lot of movies on my computer, a lot for WIF, because this is my
Hmm.
office and it's easy and I can shut the door.
Yes.
But when I want to just sit and like enjoy and just like kick back,
Yes.
I've got 3 other people in the house who want nothing to do with horror movies, and it's really hard to like commandeer the time for the TV to be like, oh,
But-
well,
But wait, here's the thing. Revenge doesn't play like a horror movie. It really
Right.
doesn't. It is because there are things in it that literally just can't simply happen.
sure.
But it
It's kind of a
I'm
western.
gonna.
yeah,
Ooh,
it
if
is
I
kind of a
can say-
western.
If I can frame it to my husband as a Western or a mystery crime thriller,
And it's
then
an
we're all
action
set.
and it's an action movie.
I'm
Ostensibly.
going to tell him it's like Training Day, and then I'm in.
It's
I'm
like
gonna
Independence Day,
Yeah,
but with fewer everything in Independence Day.
right. Fewer aliens and
to
Fewer
me,
aliens.
to
Will
me, it's,
Smith is
to me,
not
it's
in
one of
it.
those. To me, it's one of those movies that if my kids were still living in the house, I would sit them down in front of it
okay.
and go like, to my son, I'd be like, dude, this is what's going to happen to you if you mistreat women, and go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a teachable moment,
It's a teachable moment.
and it is brutal and nuts and
Yeah.
Well, I am very excited to see it. I am. I just
Gloriously over the top and
Yes.
and very smart and
well,
a
Sunday is
nice little
Mother's
look
Day,
at the
so
female gaze. over
I
the
can
male
just
There you
give myself
go.
a day of horror movies and be like,
oh,
everyone
honey,
go.
it's a perfect Mother's Day movie. It's so good for Mom's Day. So
Is it?
good.
Right.
Yeah.
A treat yourself day. That's what it is.
Yes, after I go out and get my nails done, go bowling, cut my hair,
Yeah,
and
get a tattoo.
Right.
Oh, and a massage.
And a massage.
Yeah.
All of the
Yes.
things.
All of
Yes.
the things. Do all of those things.
I'm gonna come back covered in
Okay, so wait.
boils.
When it comes to time loop movies, right?
Mhm.
Has I'm gonna take a bet that maybe two of you have seen this, but
What is
let's
it?
go for
Oh
it.
God, I have to know.
The Tenant.
Yes, of course.
Oh, I have actually seen that.
Wait.
Yeah, magnificent. And that's a really interesting way to look at the Tenant. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. The
Maybe.
Tenant?
The
I
Tenant.
haven't. I might.
Mid-70s Roman Polanski.
Right after.
Will really it's
I love it.
It is a kick in the mouth. It's a great movie. It's a
I
great
do a great podcast on that. I used the Tenant in a couple and the idea of what the Tenant's all about, as opposed to what it tries to show itself as a look at fascism and how it shows itself. Really smart movie.
And there's a time element,
Yes.
and he is he's the lead of the film, and you're like, wow, there is simply nothing this artist couldn't do at that moment in time. Like you sit there watching the performance, you're like, this is a remarkable, subtle, brilliant piece of acting. Holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's like a guy who's so connected. And when you look at, and I know it's very, unwoke to talk about Roman Polanski anymore. But
I wasn't gonna say anything.
and I get it. I do. Let's put it this way. Roman Polanski, if you ever want to know the full story of that incident, there's an incredible documentary called Roman Polanski Wanted and Desired.
Yeah.
And it's brutal, and it's warts and all. It also talks about our justice system. It also talks about parenting. It's like it's again a kick in the face, and it's a great movie. It also shows you that he served his time for what he did, which is fascinating, and people don't know that about his story. But the thing about Polanski is that this is a guy who not only, everybody knows his wife and baby were torn to pieces by the Manson family. That's sort of the easy news. This is a guy who grew up in Auschwitz.
That's right. Survived it. Was shot at while he's running away as a small shot.
I mean, this is a person of his mark in history is sort of remarkable. And when you look at the body of work that goes along with it, and you track the movies, and you track sort of the madness that surrounded him, especially, the death of his wife and his child, you kind of see the damage that can be done to a human being, and also the art that can come out of it. Because look, here's the thing. I think Mel Gibson is an abhorrent creature.
Correct.
Okay. He's also a brilliant filmmaker. I think Leni Riefenstahl was a Nazi sympathizer, and a big part of why the extermination of my people happened. Yet she's still a brilliant filmmaker. Those things live in separate worlds when you're a cinematic artist. There are writers, and look, Alfred Hitchcock was a sadist. So was Stanley Kubrick.
Oh yeah,
these were not nice people. Right. Yeah. These were not nice people. But I never want to lose the opportunity as an artist to look at a piece of work and be able to say, I can appreciate what was done here. Again, because film in particular, because it's not a singular art, it's a whole tribe of people that put together a movie that I go, great, there's an asshole here. That's not going to make me exclude this piece of work from my lexicon, because I want to learn from it. I want to know why this works or doesn't work or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm also willing, I think it's important to have this conversation every time you bring up Roman Polanski, as long as we still get to watch the movies. I think both need to be done. I think that like D.W. Griffith, you should show Triumph of the Will, or not Triumph of the Will, but oh my God, how can I forget?
No,
Birth of a Nation. But you need to have but you need to have a story in there to talk about that while you're watching.
Yeah.
I think that is the way to go with this, because I will say that if you look at Polanski stuff, nobody does self-loathing better.
Nobody. Well, no, actually, Bob Fosse.
Oh yeah, well, a
Did you
much
watch-
smaller body of work, but yeah.
Did you watch
Well,
the Fosse Verdon?
Oh, it was the single best thing put on television last year. It's
I didn't see it. Really
oh
good?
my God! Oh please, it's on.
I gotta watch
it's on
it.
the Hulu. It's on the Hulu.
The Hulu?
'cause it's,
So it
'cause
has
it's
the
FX.
commercials.
Because it's
Catching on.
because it's FX. But
Right.
yeah, if
But
you
that's
guys
right.
have not seen Verdon Fosse, it's or Fosse Verdon, excuse me. It is.
So
I
good.
have to
Oh
see that.
holy
Their
shit! it's-
performances are fucking unreal, like both of them.
Oh,
She rightfully so won the award for it and all of that.
Yep.
And I love that
He
she
should have
thanked
too.
the whole world for it. Like she was like, it wasn't just me, it's the collaborative effort, just what you were talking about. He should have too.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant performance for him.
it's unreal.
I also want
And-
to. I just want to reach out because of Greg Gilbert on our feed here has said
Greg.
something important, which is The Tenant was part of Polanski's apartment trilogy. Right, exactly.
Mhm.
The other
Yes,
two
it
are
is.
Rosemary's Baby and Repulsion. And talk about, isolation stuff. Somebody mentioned about haunted houses before The Perfect Haunted House. I would say Rosemary's Baby and Repulsion are two great haunted house
Totally.
movies.
Totally.
Once again, isolation being one of the great things that makes these films so much. The idea that you can't get out. Rosemary's Baby, she's in a womb. She's giving birth in a womb, and she's got all these fucking doulas around her that are just doing all this fucking damage to her. It's a really fun and amazing movie. But I'm sorry, didn't mean to catch you off there, Adam. You were we were talking about Fosse.
We were. Oh no, I was going to say the actor who played
Sam Rockwell?
No. I know Sam Rockwell. You knucklehead. I meant the Broadway actor. He's brilliant. Who plays Patty Chayefsky in it?
Oh wow.
Oh, Noel. No. No.
Sam something, isn't it? Isn't it also another Sam?
Rockwell, the second.
No.
Not well. Rockwell plays Fosse, and he's unreal.
Norbert Leo Butts or something like that. Like that's his name, right?
Yes, it's Butts. Yes, that's it. Butts. That's it.
It's Butts.
It's Butts. I remember because every time somebody says his name
Butts.
to me, I think of Tina from Bob's Burgers.
Oh my gosh.
I do. But
It's gonna be mooning. There's gonna be mooning. 5 minutes.
His performance is so extraordinary, and I went to the Academy event for that show, and I got to meet Nicole Fosse.
Oh.
Yes, there's actually a picture of us together on my Instagram because it was because I grew up on Broadway, and I walked up to her, I was like, your dad, I know you had problems with him, I got it, but oh my God, it's where I learned everything.
Mhm.
And it was awesome because we got to just hang out and talk, and she's just lovely and so removed from the business and does not care about any of it, but has these great stories about her parents. And I'm like, ugh. I mean, it's just it's like fill me up with all this good stuff. She's incredible lady, amazing.
She's like friends with my roommate's friend or something like that. Like there's some weird 6 degrees thing or whatever.
Yep.
And she was saying, no, she's actually the most down to earth for what she grew up in.
Yes.
She should not be as down to earth
Nope.
as she actually is.
Well, she was an addict who also got help, which her parents never did. And
Right.
she actually
Starting at 14, 13,
Yes.
like crazy.
Showtime.
Yeah.
Yep. Guys, I'm telling you, if you've not seen Fosse Verdon, it's
so good.
Oh,
you'll just really enjoy yourself. It's an incredible piece.
Oh, I'm so
so
hungry
good.
to see it because I also think Rockwell's really amazing.
Ooh.
So when he gets on to something, he's a terrier.
Well, and to watch him dance, because he does all his own dancing in the piece as Fosse.
Wow.
He just nails
guys,
it.
it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary.
wow.
Yeah.
So Adam, you want to give us a movie that is a recommendation that you don't think we've seen?
Where do you start with Adam?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I know. I've been sitting here going, oh, let's see, Rolodex.
You know what though? There's so many, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
For me, it's whether you've seen it or not, and I hope all of you guys have. The movie that for some reason it almost haunts me and it stays with me, and I can't kind of escape it. is the 2008 version of Inside, the French film.
Yes.
I didn't see that.
Okay.
Neither did I.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something else.
Now here's the
That's
thing. Do not
French
see,
extremism.
Yes. Do not see the American remake of it. It's
No.
garbage. It's truly a dumpster fire. The French version, what's so extraordinary, it's that moment in time when France was beginning its ascent into the anger that's going on in France. My
Yes.
son lives in France. He teaches in France. And they are going through what France has gone through in the last 10 years is so upsetting and sad. But what's happened is this incredible surge of horror filmmaking.
Yes.
With things like Frontiers and Hot Tension and there's
Martyrs.
just right, and Martyrs. They are just pissed
Oh my
off.
God, Martyrs.
That's
Right.
a masterpiece in my mind.
Right. It is. It's I couldn't agree more. And again, the American remake is
Oh,
garbage.
God.
Garbage.
Nightmare.
So Inside is the two women that star in the film are two of France's biggest female stars.
Yeah.
And they are in a movie that in America would have immediately been an X. No one would have ever been allowed to see it. It is the most brutal, angry, ugly, bloody. It's so extraordinary. Anybody I show the film to, like, I've never seen somebody not go like, "Oh my God, that was incredible." But people will get actively angry at me because you can't get it out of your head. Once it's there, it's there. But the performances, I don't know if you guys have ever seen Betty Blue, the French film Betty Blue.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The
Another
lead of
great
that film,
90s film.
Yes, and the lead actually isn't that? Oh, it might be 90. I thought it was late 80s, but you're probably right. I think it's early 90s, right? It's what is it, 91? Betty Blue.
Yeah, I think it's like 1991. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shall I IMDb it?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's what I'm doing.
That's what Allie's doing. I saw Allie on the phone. She's like, she's so fast with it.
Well, no, I was looking at
Money.
Inside first, and then I'm. This is what alcohol
Inside's
does.
magnificent.
I'm one film behind. Give me.
I was Googling obscure films to see if I've seen any that I could pick one that you haven't seen.
Oh,
That's what I'm
good.
doing.
That's
And the answer is like, no, I don't have any that you've not seen.
Cheaty
probably.
Cheaterson.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna cheat. You don't know what I'm doing.
That's true. You don't know me.
Nothing
You don't
below the
know
hips.
me. I'm on the IMDb.
Nothing below the waist. I'm on the IMDb.
Yeah, the
The
lead of Betty
2001.
Blue.
Mm-hmm.
Baby
She's
Blue.
so beautiful.
Could you guys hear that?
No, not 2001. No, it's
No.
What year are we
it's-
thinking? 89.
It's
86.
89. It is
Okay,
89.
there you go.
86.
86?
Wow, even
86.
earlier.
Good. Okay.
Who did it?
So that's like,
Who
wow,
did
that's
it?
a lot earlier than
I think it's
Jean-
Jean Benny, isn't it?
Jean-Jacques Benny.
Yep.
Jean Benny, yeah.
Oh, then I'm looking at something else.
Who's an incredible filmmaker, by the way. Like, you can look at his entire oeuvre. It's sort of extraordinary. But the lead of Betty Blue became France's sort of premier actress, and she's the one who stars in Inside. She's the antagonist.
That's another amazing twist in Betty Blue. That's a.
Yeah, oh yes. Oh,
Beatrice
yes.
Dalle.
Yes.
Oh yes. Oh, just saying the name.
Oh, she is so extraordinary. I mean, look.
Beatrice
and,
Dalle.
and especially for women in horror, this is Inside. It's like it's just nothing but. It's this incredible like celebration, yet like primal scream about motherhood and about ownership. And guys, it's so good. It's so cool. It's
She
just,
plays a character called La Femme.
La Femme, yes. You
What
will.
year did you say this came out?
1986.
2008. 2008
Oh,
is
Inside was
Inside.
2007.
Oh, okay. 2008 was Martyrs.
Wait, not 2008 was when it was released in the United States. That's why I said 2008.
Fine.
That's when Dimensions
tomato,
picked it up.
Potato.
Fine.
I'm just saying.
But yeah, that's a great. That's
Not
and
saying,
it
I'm
goes.
just saying.
It goes all the way, which is another thing that's amazing. Is that we talk about movies that
Greg.
don't necessarily always stick the
Yes.
landing. That one sticks
Yes.
the land.
It sticks the landing. Yes, it does.
Greg Gilbert wants to know if any of us have seen SwearNet, the movie. It's got the record for the most F-bombs, 935 in total. Fun fact.
Greg, you would know
Uh,
that.
And
Of
it
course he will.
stars the Trailer Park Boys.
Okay,
Horror in
no,
a different light.
I will say so. I know the Trailer Park Boys, but I don't know this movie. So that's that's an interesting
Swearing
one. Right
at the movie.
Swearing
Swearing
at.
at-
Is
I
it?
love
I
the
mean, is
name.
it silly?
2014, NC-17 is the rating.
I'm about
Because
to watch
of-
Butt Boy
because of the
tonight. I don't know
F-bombs.
how that's going to be. I haven't seen that
What?
yet, but that
Butt
is it?
Boy.
What about Butt Boy? Butt Boy. It's a
We knew
You
You
this
don't
would
have
end
to
with
tell
butts.
us what you're gonna do.
yeah, it's going to
Jeff.
end with butts. Right. Well, was another NC-17 Bizarro film, and it came out this year, and I've had like 5 people tell me I have to watch this film, and it's about a guy who's an alcoholic, who's a detective, who gets a sponsor, who he realizes his sponsor may be this guy who's responsible for these children that are disappearing. And we find out that he is this weird guy who's putting things up his butt, hence Butt Boy. And it becomes this surreal freaking thing. I swear this is a real movie. That this is not some.
But if
fever
wait,
dream
but
of mine.
if a movie premieres on Pornhub, is it a real movie?
I don't.
Wondering
Well, if it
that's-
goes up for an Oscar, we'll find out.
Right.
That
By the
will
way,
be-
I love that whenever Jenna's cat passes Jenna, Jenna disappears
Yeah.
behind the image that's behind
Yes.
her.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind of extraordinary. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's
Really
this weird
cool.
foggy,
It's like,
this
it's cool.
fog thing that's going on.
Yeah.
My cat is working
Mm.
with Sauron.
Mike Kelleher wanted to know if anyone has seen The Ugly. It is a New Zealand horror film.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh.
actually. I got one.
Guess
You
what
did.
Vanessa's answer is? No. No. I mean, this. I should be embarrassed. Are you guys embarrassed for me? Because
No.
this is
Not even a
You're
little.
watching. You
I haven't seen a single film that you guys
You know what,
because
though?
you're watching all the shit that we send you.
Yeah, you're only keeping independent film going, right?
That's
So
right. That's
Ah.
right.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you watch. It matters like what you create or like
Yeah.
where
Oh, wow,
your
that's
heart
beautiful.
is.
Have you guys
Your
seen
heart and
Scream?
passion is for?
Have we seen Scream?
I've heard of this movie.
Yeah,
Scream.
Qu'est-ce que c'est Scream?
Vanessa, I feel like we would be best friends. Like,
Yes. It's happening.
that was part of my like kiss story was like, and then like after X-Files, it was really like Scream and
I
Know You
adored
Last
Scream.
Summer and-
Yeah.
I mean, I said that kind of as a joke, but I mean, I really did. I remember
I think
seeing
highly
that,
of
and
it.
I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, Craven ended up being a guy who 3 times in 3 different decades made a horror film that
Yes.
changed things, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that
Adam
defined the
has some
decade.
good Wes
Yep, defined
Craven
the decade.
stories, by the way.
I do.
Oh,
Well, I grew up
Well,
with Wes.
Share.
oh,
Yeah,
I love
Wes,
Wes.
Wes was Uncle Wes. And
Oh.
actually, I was offered Scream.
Oh,
My favorite story though is the NYU story.
Because it's really sweet, and it's Wes being so sweet to me.
Oh, please
so
share a sweet
Is
Wes
he?
story.
Wes was such a kind, beautiful man. He was so beautiful. And you know, I grew up with Sean Cunningham because Noel Cunningham was my best friend as a
Who
kid.
is also
Oh.
sweet and kind, right?
No, Sean Cunningham is a monster who should be stopped. And it's fascinating that Wes
Yeah.
Craven was his partner because
Right.
you're like, and by the way, you totally get why that partnership broke up. But Wes was so kind. So when I was at NYU as a teenager, I actually was at I did the first table read of A Nightmare on Elm Street.
So crazy.
It's crazy. And so I was like 13 when I did that read through of the movie for Wes. And so I was always around Wes and Sean and this whole group of people. Well, when I got to college, everybody knew I was the Sean Cunningham, Wes Craven guy, right? Because I had already worked on all these movies and I'd apprentice edited for Columbia and stuff. And so I get there and like I had a bunch of people who just didn't fucking believe me. Brett Ratner being one of them. He was
Brett.
He was,
Mm,
yeah,
Brett
he's a
Ratner.
lovely lovely fucking asshole. Anyway,
Ratner.
by the
You
way,
and
like,
Sean should get together.
yes, Gail Gadot, which is how you say her name, by the way. She is. I think she's like the coolest woman ever because she's the only one who seems interested in taking down Brett Ratner as he should be taken down. Anyway, so a lot of these guys wouldn't believe that I knew all these people and that they were friends and whatnot. So we had this class that was like a colloquium where all of the film students would get together and we'd watch a film that hadn't come out in the theaters yet. And the director would show up and talk to us all about the making of that movie. And it was like this really like kind of special thing that NYU put together for us. And every once in a while they'd have a classic, like Harold Ramis came and showed Vacation, which of course everybody that had been out for forever, but it was like amazing to hear Harold Ramis like right there tell you like, yeah, this movie's kind of a piece of shit. And here's what I would do to make it better now if I got to shoot it now. So you're like, oh my God, really? Like one of the greatest comedies ever made and you think it's a piece of shit. So Wes was coming to show Shocker.
Oh boy.
And yeah. And no
that
one
was the first R-rated movie I snuck into.
And there you go. So,
I've seen it.
So he shows up he comes to show us this movie and we all watch the film, right? Film plays out and then the director would come out on stage to meet all of us and to talk to us about filmmaking. So Wes comes out and I'm sitting in the middle of the theater, right up the middle aisle. And Wes suddenly looks out to the theater and sees me, makes eye contact with me and goes, Adam! And he leaves the stage, walks up the middle aisle and hugs me.
Aww.
And I was like, now here's the thing. I know at that moment, I'm like, okay, this is the sweetest thing ever because he's just such a doll. But I also thought, I am a dead man. Like, I have put a target on my back so big. So the people who were friends of mine and like had my back were like, this is the coolest thing ever. The Brett Ratner and that group, they fucking hated me with such a passion from that point forward. But
fuck him.
That was Wes.
Yeah,
like he was that kind.
That's so wonderful to hear because I've always loved, he had some of his movies, didn't quite fire correctly and stuff. He had some issues, but what I think he always did so well from the very beginning is he understood and, his background and stuff. He hadn't seen movies until he was in college. Yep. He had all this anger because of the way that his family was. His dad was an alcoholic and angry. He did sadism. Like the sadist, the angry, cruel person, better than anybody I ever saw. I mean,
and he couldn't be a less cruel human being. Like you couldn't meet a kinder, gentler, more soft-spoken man.
Yeah, and yet he knew exactly how to get that across, and I thought that was great.
Yeah.
That whole
that like goes full circle to what you were talking about, like at the very, very beginning of the whole thing, where people who have this trauma or have some sort of background or backstory in that, like those are the stories that are really, really interesting to hear. They may not actually be that person or like that crazy, but it's really interesting to hear those stories,
Well, what is that quote about being violent in your art so that you can be boring in everyday life?
Yeah.
Exactly.
John Waters always says that his movies, he'd be in jail if he wasn't able to make his movies, and he doesn't have to be crazy because his movies are crazy.
Right. There are musicians that say the same thing.
A lot of musicians.
I have to laugh, Adam, on that story that you were saying. It made me think of a story about Frank Sinatra and oh my God, Hockey Puck. Who was that? Don Rickles. And it's because you had this whole thing of him going, hey, Adam, and coming down and hugging you. So the story goes that Don Rickles is having his in-laws over and they're at this restaurant and he goes over to Frank and goes, Frank, can you come over? My mother-in-law loves you. She would just do anything if you just came over and said hi. And so Sinatra's telling the story and he goes, so I go, I love Rickles. I'm going to give him the whole shebang. So he gets up and everything. And Don and his family are eating and he comes over and he goes, Don, my buddy. And he starts hugging him and everything. He goes, this guy is so fantastic and everything. And Don goes, Jesus, you see we're eating, right? And I thought that's just such a great way to go at it. You only have
Yes.
Frank Sinatra doing that. And I thought, oh man, what a great ball busting session that is.
So
I wanted
we,
to, yeah.
oh, I was going to say, we have a question
Great.
from our viewers, Mike Kelleher again. He said, repeating the question a bit for fun, fan-based coherency, taking into the end of Jason Goes to Hell, is Jason X and Wes Craven's New Nightmare both killers' experience in hell?
I think that's giving a tremendous amount of credit to Jason X. Just gonna say that. By the way, hang on. And to Jason X's credit, Jimmy Isaacs, who directed that movie, was, God rest his soul, was a remarkably talented, lovely. He's just a really good person. He's a really good person who got treated miserably by Sean Cunningham, miserably by the mechanism of that movie, because the movie he wanted to make was Todd Farmer's original script. Todd's script was remarkable. He actually wrote a Friday 13th movie that was a straight comedy. Like, he got it. He was like, okay, we're going to fucking space. Like, come on.
Right.
Come on, really? And he wrote this incredibly ironic, interesting movie that Sean dismantled from beginning to end, and really abused Jimmy Isaacs. So that movie should have been a very different movie. That being said, I mean, look, New Nightmare is an incredible movie. Like, there is no Scream without New Nightmare. There's none of his, like, the way Wes turns and changes his filmmaking on New Nightmare, where he's like, I'm interested in bigger things than this. And I love the idea that Wes felt responsible and guilty by unleashing something like Freddy Krueger into the zeitgeist. It was like, I haven't really done a great thing here because nobody's getting it. This is supposed to be the monster, but they're all treating him like the hero, and he's not the fucking hero.
Right.
This is a child molesting monster. Like, what are you doing? And what's great about New Nightmare is this idea that our movies, in a way, that the creature sometimes gets out of the box, not because of the film itself, but because of the way the audience responds to it.
Right. Which I thought was very profound.
Really cool. Like, that's heady stuff for a horror movie. Like, this guy, and I'm not just talking about like the hidden things that happen in a lot of great horror films. This is a guy who was like, he was almost like, I get a chance to give you all this presentation as an essay in my horror movie because I created Freddy Krueger. Right. And so, yeah, I think that's a really cool way to look at New Nightmare, that like, that's Freddy's experience of his own hell in a very Sartre sort of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Sartre. We're just going to casually throw
Such
Sartre
a
into the
good
conversation.
word.
I love it.
He does that.
Sartre.
That's the way he works.
Right.
It's Sartre. That's awesome. Yeah, and I agree. And I think only Wes Craven had the intestinal fortitude and the intellect to want to create the idea of Freddy Krueger in the first place. The concept of Nightmare on Elm Street goes back to Val Lewton stuff and goes into art in theater as well as literature. You know, he's taking very esoteric ideas and turning it into a horror story. And I thought that was it blew me away. And I got that at a level when it came out, original Nightmare, I was 18. And I saw it. I remember there was no advertisement for this shit.
None.
It was in Fangoria magazine in a black and white picture in like the coming soon. And they had a picture of Freddy Krueger in black and white with a fedora. And I thought, oh, this looks like a period piece. It looked like And so I went to see it. There were 8 people in the theater. And by the end of that movie, we ran out. We sprinted like it was the end of Rocky. You know, I was like, we got to tell people about this. You got to bring your friends, because there had never been a horror film that worked quite like that. There had been dream sequences. There had never been a movie that talked about dream sequences. That what is a dream, and what is this guilt of the idea of the American dream. And you have Elm Street, right? You have this whole idea of the sins of the fathers coming down upon the children. And it was so smart and so ballsy. And there was he had zero cash, and he's doing like tilting rooms. And I mean, there are things that don't even work that you allow to work, like the weird masks. Help me, save me from Freddy. And this stuff doesn't look good, and yet you still want to give it all of the love because it is going there. He hit the ball out of the park with that film, and it was so smart as well. And so it broke my heart to see where it ended up going. Yeah. And so for him to talk about it a decade later in such a really interesting way, once again, taking that idea and intellectualizing it, it made him just head and shoulders above many of the other directors at that time, especially. He was truly a master of horror.
Well, I mean, I love that, like, one of his minor works is something like Hills Have Eyes, and that's a minor work.
Yeah.
And it's so raw and scary and has so much on its mind.
Yeah.
And that's, look, and by the way, he made a ton of movies, like a lot of TV movies that people forget that he made or try to forget that he made, that were just dreadful.
Season of Fear, I think, was one.
I mean, he did one with Beretta. That's like electricity run amok. I mean, it's like some really bad shit. But he was unafraid to try conceptually anything. And that's what, I mean, I still think Serpent and the Rainbow is like one of the great unsung masterpieces of our genre.
Yeah,
it's an incredible film. I know Vanessa hasn't seen it, but
I haven't either. I mean, you know that.
Yeah, it's great. I had the honor of introducing it at the Alamo Draft House this last year.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and it was fun bringing it. It was Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn, and so many people had not seen it, and they stayed around afterwards to talk to me about it because they're just like going, "Dude, I never even heard of this movie." And I was like, "That's a crime that you don't."
Jenna, have you seen it? Have you seen Serpent and the Rainbow?
I have not.
Super cool.
Visually
cool movie.
Watch party.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes.
Really good.
It's
really
well
good.
worth watching. It's well worth watching. And
I pulled up a second screen for a second there, and all I heard was "ladies watch party." It was so sexy. I was like, "Oh,
watch party. We have a watch party."
They're gonna go watch Butt Boy.
No, that's me. Everybody else is gonna be having fun.
Boy,
I'm gonna be sitting there going,
gonna watch
"What did he
Serpent
do
and the
again?
Rainbow."
He did it again."
I am not watching Butt.
So that was Vanessa's sultry voice. And that was like the late night, watch party, easy listening voice, right? You know that.
Yes,
DJ.
I totally do.
Oh yes.
So,
it was
my dad was a
Venus
radio DJ for a long
Venus
time.
It was you were the through line in Southbound.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Or
but that was Fessenden, wasn't it? I think that was Fessenden. Yeah.
Or Lynn Thigpen in The Warriors.
Yes. Can you? Yeah, I loved. I rewatched Black Hawk Down because I was doing this thing about war films with 1917, and I went, "This is The Warriors. This is a military version."
Oh, totally! It's absolutely the same film.
Yeah, I was like, "Holy shit! How'd they get away with this?" Because everybody talked about how historically realistic it was. I said, "Well, you forget about two of the major allies that came and helped to get them out of there."
Right.
But it's very specifically, it's very historically accurate.
Have you guys have any of you seen The Warriors?
Wait, I think I have.
The late 70s. It's tremendous. And if you're a fan of musical theater,
Warriors come out and play.
Yep,
that's it. Warriors come out and play.
Okay, I have seen it, but it was so long ago that I don't remember a lot of it. But
magnificent soundtrack.
So good.
Can at least claim it.
Yes.
Oh God, I'm being
there's
shushed.
this.
I have to whisper.
Okay.
This is her whispering voice.
My son
It's the lady in red.
He's like,
That's
"You're being so loud."
We're all like ASMR horrors all of a sudden.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a whole other weirdo topic that we can discuss at some point.
ASMR.
What about soundtrack?
We can get into ASMR.
Well,
can we not? Can we not?
This is what's
we
creepy
can get
about
into
it.
ASMR.
So it's very popular among the young girls.
Yes.
And so let's see, my daughter was, I don't know, 12 or something, and she was playing with her slime and doing something else. And she was making a video on her phone, not on a channel or streaming anywhere. But I heard her trying to whisper, and I was like, what are you doing? She goes, oh, ASMR. Like, everybody loves it. I was like, don't go looking for this. Don't listen to it. Don't go there.
It's not inherently sexual.
But she said, but my concern
However,
is that the fucking weirdos out there are looking for little 12-year-olds and their slime hands, and their voices and their, you know what they're doing to themselves.
And if you go online,
that is hysterical.
and if you go online and look up ASMR, it's a sexual thing.
It's not a sexual thing necessarily.
I agree.
I love
with you.
necessarily.
I said
Listen,
online.
hey, I don't know if you know about Rule 34 of the internet. If it exists, there is porn of it. So
right. Yes.
we can, you know,
hands, all of it.
We are now porn. We don't know it yet, but somewhere.
Right. Well, yeah. I'm just saying.
Internet is really.
I can see why you would be hesitant about your 12-year-old doing it, though. But I mean, there are certain types of it that I'll have on in the background that help with my anxiety.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes, that makes sense. Yes.
Oh, now we're okay with it. Now it's not okay.
I'm okay with it either way. What I'm saying is.
Yeah,
Well,
no.
the reason is these
I don't want to
videos-
listen to people eat or anything. That shit's
No,
gross.
It helps with my anxiety too.
My anxiety.
Yeah,
My
it
anxiety.
allows for a release. So she's playing with slime, and
Stop talking about your 12-year-old when you're talking about
Yes,
that.
please.
let's not join the two.
I'm so trying to get over the
not.
slime thing. It's like just,
Because the whole point of playing with the slime was like to put shit in it that makes it make noise when you squish it.
I
Yes,
know.
So you're
it makes fart
squishing it and it
noises.
goes
Yeah.
through the
Yeah.
fingers and
We
it's
used to
this,
do
and then
that,
it's the
yes.
whispering, and I was like, no, because there's
We had
some like grandfather masturbating to that bullshit. I don't want to see it. Don't do it. Don't play with it. Get out. Get out. I have
let's
seen that.
Get Out Part 2.
I saw Get Out.
Get Out. We don't.
For the record.
The only point I was trying to make is that those guys are gonna jack off to anything.
Right. Exactly.
Slime,
Those
ASMR,
guys.
whatever.
The reports.
Yeah, right.
Those jack off guys.
My clicking jaw.
Therefore, they know it's.
Yeah, no, someone loves
You-
your
Hey,
TMJ.
That's
Hey,
right.
don't get me started, Vanessa. Damn.
Yeah, he's.
You've got a gold
Strong
mine right there.
No,
Don't get surgery. That's a gold mine.
Wait, Carrie has a. Were you raising your hand, Carrie?
Oh yeah, Carrie.
Hang on. I just hang on. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry. I just had to get my headphones with the microphone. I've never used it before, so I dug it out because obviously the kids are just settled. And I just thought, well, I better plug you guys in. It's the ultimate surround sound, actually.
Speaking of which.
Yeah, right. And now the ASMR begins.
Oh,
Yeah.
darn. I was
Vanessa, click your jaw.
It's just
Strawberry.
Wait,
My
yeah,
dad-
put an ASMR acapella.
My dad was on the radio when I was a kid, and like he was a DJ and whatever. And then there was the late night, and it was Nancy Alden, the lady in red. And I remember like there was a whole thing around her, and like we weren't like it was all like Peebo Bryson and stuff like that. He was on a soft rock station, but like that's all I can think about when I hear ASMR now. It's
Like you could
That's
say
funny.
anything, and then it
Lady
just
in
it loses its athlete's foot. Right?
Anal leakage. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. This
what
is
do
a
you have
nightmare.
there, Adam?
We're gonna remember
I have
when
the
this went off the
moon.
rails.
It fell off my desk.
Wait,
Oh,
what do you
no.
mean when this went on? When was this on the rails?
Yeah, exactly. What was it?
Truth.
Where
truth.
were the rails?
Yeah,
There
where
were
were the
rails?
rails? There were
I
rails.
think everybody
Nobody
I
told me
didn't get
about the
the
rails.
Who
I
had the
think
rails?
everybody should try
I
to
don't
say
do
a
on the
really
rails.
innocuous phrase as sexy as possible.
Oh,
See,
that's a good
my-
challenge.
My problem is I do my podcast and I'll have people go, God, I love listening to your voice. And then they'll go, you're like the horror Casey Kasem. And I'm like, oh. Like, you got to be fucking kidding me, right?
Well, now that you say
Casey
it,
I know,
Kasem
now
was
it's-
the
now it's
voice,
over, right?
man.
Yeah.
He was the voice.
He was the
The
voice.
voice.
He
All
was.
I hear is ponderous, fucking ponderous.
No, Casey Kasem. No,
Casey Kasem was the shit.
He was
No,
the shit.
But he lost his. Have you never heard that outtake when he loses his shit?
Yes.
No.
And he just starts going ponderous, fucking ponderous.
That's amazing. I love it.
It's true.
Belly button.
Yeah, we can't do this. This is not going to
Headphones.
work.
What's the cutoff here?
I don't know. I'm getting punchy because it's late.
We've been talking
Wow,
for over
it's-
I know.
3 hours.
It's 11:25, and that's late. Wow.
Well,
I know.
I win.
You do.
Yes,
Terry
you
wins.
do.
Terry wins.
4:25 in the morning.
I can't believe you're still up. Actually, that's like me
Oh.
doing writing. That's how it goes all the time.
Carrie's super mom. That's
Yes, she
what
is.
she's up. She's like, I mean, beyond super mom.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Okay.
I gotta have a solid 8.
Yeah. I don't. I get 6, and I'm usually happy.
I need my 8
Just
hours.
keep going.
Oh,
But,
4 kids, 3 autistic. Autism doesn't sleep. That's all I'm
Right.
going to say.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's why
so-
you're a super mom.
Thank you, lovely.
Absolutely.
So,
No, you're
oh, look, rails. Okay, back to the list of
I prefer off the rails.
the-
Thank you.
the list of
Right.
movies that we wanted to see about giving each other that were maybe not so well known. I wanted to pick 2 that were older because they're twisted, and they're much more twisted than people are going to think they are because of the years that they were made. And the first one is an Otto Preminger film called Bunny Lake is Missing.
Mhm.
And that is a really interesting movie about a missing child that will creep you out. By the
Yep.
end of that, you'll be like going, I cannot even believe this was made in the time period that it was made. Like it's like 1966, I think. And
There's a lot of creepy shit that was made in the 60s.
yeah, this is really out there. And another one is 10 Rillington Place, which is a real crime film about a killer in World War II over in England who had a flat, and he was murdering unwed mothers who were coming for abortions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
I've heard
really
that
Wow.
one.
Jesus.
yeah. They shot it in
Fucked up.
his place. They went to
Oh,
the
wow.
actual locations and shot there. So it's,
Wow.
and it's it's Richard Attenborough, the happy, chunky Richard Attenborough playing the most demonic character.
Oh, that's
you've ever
awesome. He's a great actor too.
Yeah,
He was
he's a great
fucking
actor.
Brilliant.
And the character
Great filmmaker as well.
Yes, great filmmaker as well. And this movie just goes down a level of darkness that you're not going to expect. So
Wow.
get a
I'm
chance,
checking
really-
that out, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for the recommendation. That's great fun. All right, good.
Someone inbox me.
I've got a whole list.
Please, someone inbox me all these movies. I could do with watching a load right now.
Yeah.
You have a favorite movie that is not that well known that you'd love to get us to watch? We may not have seen.
There's quite a. I'll tell you what. It was a banned one over here years ago, but they've only just released it. Oh God! It was Have you heard of the director Nico Mastorakis?
Yes.
Yeah.
Island of Death. I've seen that one, the uncut version, and I'll tell you what, my mouth literally just dropped out of my. You have to really sort of hold the jaw in. You're like, oh my God, how the hell they got away with it? I can understand why it was banned when it was, and they've
Wow.
only released it. Yeah, it's called Nico Mastorakis Island of Death. If you get to
yes, it was released. It was yes. They just took it off the Videos Nasties list where you are.
yes.
It's Who Can Kill a Child.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
That's the
wow.
movie.
Wait,
Yeah.
That's the movie. Who Can Kill a Child? Which, by the way, they did remake, and it wasn't a bad remake. They did do a remake of it. That's not bad.
That's the pinata scene is the
Yes.
thing that, yes.
But
Yes.
but a review that says that wasn't bad is not really a good review.
No. That's the American version. The original one is terrific. It's
Yeah.
very, very upsetting and
Yeah.
really like it's
It's
basically
not
about
for me.
It's about a couple. It's about a couple that ends up on one of the Greek Isles.
Yeah.
And it's a tiny little island, and the only people that are there are children.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something wrong with
Wait,
that.
what's it called?
It's called Who Can Kill a Child? But it was retitled
Island of the Dead.
Yes, in England, when they just did the re-release.
I feel like I did see that actually.
It's really good and really disturbing because these kids are not okay. And the whole idea is, what do you do when a child is coming to hurt you?
Yeah.
Would you be able to stop it if you had to?
Right.
Yes.
And that's kind of
Right. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Jenna's short answer is like,
Yeah.
That kid's dead. Yeah.
Just a
You can
short,
kill a child? I can.
short prick. Kill him.
Sign me up.
How old of child are we talking about?
They're really little. They're
pretty young.
They're young kids.
I'm not very tall. I'm just saying.
Pretty
I can't
creepy.
be taking chances like that.
Some of them are so small they have that really big head, so all you have to do is tip them over.
Oh, you're hilarious. So, Allie, what would be yours?
What would be my what?
Your not often seen film that you would recommend.
So you have a list.
Well, I have a whole list of things that you guys have all seen that I haven't seen.
Oh,
so, like
I have
I
the
feel
same
like
list.
I'm pretty sure there's not a single film that I could list that Adam for sure has not seen. Jenna, you're like a close second now. Jenna and Scott.
I think Scott's pretty hard to beat. There's a couple.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
like-
Adam and Scott both have me beat.
You're both like you're neck and neck there on that.
Do made for TV movies count?
Yeah, of course. What are you kidding?
Okay,
Oh.
because I did see a movie when I was like 6 or 7.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know that it's that great to recommend to say watching it because I was that age, but it has stuck with me. And it was a made for TV movie called Don't Go to Sleep.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
And it had Valerie Harper,
Mhm.
Dennis Weaver,
Of course.
and some other people.
And some
But
other-
I know when it was made. Those two.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre that I had to look it up to remember what year because I was so young. But basically, a little girl is haunted by the ghost of her dead sister who died in a car accident the year
Ooh.
before, and the family's kind of like trying to move on. And I just remember it being super creepy. But I'm gonna be like so excited here. You guys have not seen this nor heard of it?
I've seen it.
Oh, fuck you!
You can't get anything past Adam. Like it's really annoying. You can't get anything past him.
Well,
by
that's
the
my
way-
new life's goal.
His library.
Yeah,
is
I'm like, let me
insane.
look at my list.
But by the way, I got to tell you, man, you look at any of the TV movies made in the 1970s, a lot of them are better than the stuff that was coming out in theaters.
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever get a chance, there's a movie called Bad Ronald.
Oh yes, Bad
Whew.
Ronald. Nice.
It's so good. It's
I didn't
so
even know
good.
it was a TV movie
Is
until
that
later.
about a clown
Yeah. No.
with a yellow suit and some red
No.
stripes?
It's about
Hamburgers.
Is there another guy who was also like a big
It's a
purple
good haunted house
chicken
movie.
nugget looking thing?
haunted
it's
house
the Grimace.
movie.
It's the Grimace horror movie. You got it. You nailed
Yeah.
it.
It's the people under the stairs, but they're not under the
Like,
stairs.
what is Grimace, by the way?
No one knows. He's
a lump
shake
of
monster.
milkshake. He's a
Yeah,
lump
a
of
shake
milkshake.
monster.
He's
That's
a
all he is.
purple chicken nugget. I don't know.
A purple chicken nugget.
Curious because they all had some sort of
Sativa chicken nugget.
it's like they were some of them were food and some of like
there
Mayor
was-
McCheese
Was a cheeseburger.
cheeseburger. The
Right.
Hamburglar was a
person.
person who ate the burgers.
Oh, right.
Robble,
So
robble,
Rails.
robble,
Have
robble.
you guys
No.
seen? I just watched for the first
Bad
time.
Ronald. Wait.
What?
Wait, you watched for the first time what?
Tigers Are Not Afraid.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
God damn it.
awesome. It's
Saw it
It's so
twice.
good
awesome.
though. It was so
Yeah.
good.
It's so
I
good.
need
Yeah.
to see it.
Really
That
strong.
one's on Shutter.
Yeah, it's
We
really
were-
strong.
We
It's
were
really good. It's like a
Learned. There are a
we,
lot of
we
things.
were played back to back with her at Glasgow Fright Fest 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh, you told me about that.
she's amazing, and the film is gorgeous.
I loved it. With that
Yeah.
film or with another one of hers?
No, with that film.
Oh wow!
Yeah, our 2 films were shown back to back.
Oh,
And so we
Jenna,
shared
what
the night
was it
together. It was
called?
awesome.
Tigers are not afraid. It's a Spanish
Beautiful.
movie.
It's
Beautiful.
on Shudder. It's exclusive on Shudder, sweetie.
Yeah. It's like Boonwell meets Del Toro. Yeah. Boonwell meets Del Toro.
So I've had 2 drinks now, but I wrote togers are not afraid.
That's how I write
That's
when
the
I'm
movie.
stone cold sober. I'm lucky.
Togers are not afraid.
Those togers, let me tell you,
They're not scared.
they're not afraid of nothing.
The fucking stripes.
I'm not afraid.
On that note,
It's
I'm
togers.
going to probably go refill this. and go to bed
Togers.
very soon.
Yeah, I'm probably
Don't
gonna
be afraid,
go to bed soon
togers.
as well.
Yes.
Yes.
I
I think we've
I didn't want to be the first one to fall asleep with
No.
my shoes on, and you guys are gonna draw a dick on my face. But I'd like to go to bed
Well,
at some point.
let's see. Let's just
I didn't even know
that
that
a
was an
tech-
option for the night, for God's
Yeah,
sake.
It's always an option. Yeah, hey.
That's right.
Can we harness that technology?
Yeah.
We can
Oh,
invent that technology.
I have
don't
I
know
have
how.
Premiere. I can do some After Effects. We got it done.
Yeah, we're all
Togers.
filmmakers. We should all have that.
We have that
ability.
technology for sure.
Put the pictures together.
How do you like make it work? The togers, they're just not gonna happen together.
Well,
That's-
it's really good to see how well this has devolved.
Oh,
Anyway,
Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you everybody for coming on. This has been
What a
wonderful. I hope you've
smooth
enjoyed
transition.
yourself. I am just
Yeah.
smooth.
Segue.
Rails.
I just slide. I got grease in the rails.
Mhm.
It's really thank you so much everybody for spending as much time. We did 3.5 hours. It's a nice little jam session. And I
Yeah.
think we had some fun. And I'd love
I had all the fun.
you had
all
all
of the fun.
Good.
I had many funs. Many fun.
I had
Thank you
some
for
fun in
complimenting.
reserve that actually came out. That's how good it was.
Oh wow.
We broke
Oh.
into some of the 15-year-old fun, age
wow,
stuff.
that's a well-aged fun.
Yeah, single malt fud.
That was a really good
Mm.
year
This,
for
this,
fun.
that was gross.
Yeah, it was a good.
Don't do that, Adam.
Yeah, no.
No, I didn't say I had this kind of fun. I was a snifter. You're thick. You're a
Pixie, like pixie sticks. He's
Like, I don't even know. I don't know.
What am I watching? Are you still watching this?
It's like
We're
cats.
I was not
Togers?
fondling phantom balls.
Well,
Okay,
we'll-
for
we'll
God's
just-
sakes.
We'll just tell them
There's
this
the title of your next film.
is Phantom Balls.
Phantom balls.
No, I was not fondling.
Fondling phantom balls. Yes. By the way, that's the sequel to The Invisible Man.
Right.
Let's get on
Full
that.
circle, Adam. I
Oh
love
my God! None of us can ever run for office.
Yeah, this is like.
I wouldn't be good at it. I haven't.
Wait, hold on. Did you just say that you think what we've done here tonight is worse than what we've got?
No. I just
any of the films
I
that we've
assume
made.
none of us would run in the Republican Party.
That's
and
true.
we're
You're
just-
right. You're absolutely right.
We're
I
just
take
now
it back.
recorded for it. We're now recorded.
Right.
Absolutely. I love it.
Mm.
I love it. That's
You
awesome.
guys are fun.
This has been
Yeah.
a real
Oh
pleasure.
my God, you too.
You guys are so fun.
Oh,
it's so good.
It's been the
fun.
best time ever.
Oh, great. Wow.
I can't wait to do this with William Friedkin. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone else's eyes like? I think mine have been open too
stop
long.
it, Jenna. You stop that.
Well, you also do have a police light on you, sweetheart.
Yes.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing you might want to think about changing.
Is that what that is?
I thought it was dental work. I thought you were getting dental. You're like,
Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the darkness.
Look,
Yes, you have since 4:45. You've been in
Yes.
the dark. I'm like, it hasn't changed.
This is welcome to my life.
I've gone from day to
Really?
night
Welcome
during
to
this
my
during
dungeon.
this thing.
Welcome to
so.
my dungeon.
well,
lighting is not my skill set, apparently.
Clearly, me neither. I'm just
I-
underlighting it so you can't tell that there's low
Where's-
combustion value.
Where's
Well,
my gaffer?
Greg
He's not here.
Gilbert, thank you so much for being on the chat, and Mike Kelleher, thank you so much. Christian Maurice Gant, all these people who stayed around. Buford T. Justice, thanks so much for hanging out for the party.
Yes.
Crazy.
And
All-
Carrie Yates, who is like the superstar.
Yes.
of
Yeah,
reality,
I
I'd
feel
say.
like we should say thank you and I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I'm worried about
Forget
you.
the last half hour.
We apologize.
Yeah, we did well for a while, and then it just kind of did.
Or-
If you have nothing to apologize for, it wasn't much of a party.
That's right,
Also
exactly.
true.
And
This
there were
is the watch party.
there were no Zoom bombs. We didn't get anything
No.
banned
No,
for
we did
Not
not,
a
which is great.
single
Yep.
phallus.
Fantastic.
Zoom
So
bombs.
not one single phallus.
Wait, what?
Well,
Because
I
it
don't know
has
what kind of
happened.
Zoom
Pazuzu.
bombs you're
You
dealing
mentioned
with,
Pazuzu.
but that's a whole nother thing.
We got bombed with some penises.
Oh,
Just love the
Multiple.
sobriety you're saying that with.
isn't that a
Just,
Joseph Heller play?
It's like a bouquet of
Got bombed with some penises.
Yeah. I was like, oh my eyes.
Joseph Heller. No.
And thank you.
Yes.
Oh,
And
it's so good.
thank you.
Not a single
Adam,
phallus.
Adam, and Jenna,
Not a
Allie,
single phallus.
Mary, and Vanessa, thanks so much for giving us your time. Everybody who's been listening out there, we're going to try this crazy shit again next Thursday. We'll have some more folks. And I want to thank you guys. You're welcome back at any time that you want.
Thanks for having us.
Anything
Yes,
that you haven't had
absolutely.
put in the chat, we're going to keep the chat rolling on the live version. So feel free to put anything that you're endorsing or you want to have people go to. More than happy to have that. We hope that this becomes a community. This is supposed to be a conversation.
Can
and
I
hopefully-
put my project up?
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely do that.
I should have said this probably 3.5 hours ago. I don't, but I don't have a link for it because I have a short film that I wrote and directed that's being publicly released by a nonprofit tomorrow. So there's not a link for it yet, but tomorrow.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Next week then.
Do it
Well,
tomorrow.
By the way, I just sent you a friend request on the Facebook.
I accepted it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But when your film drops, I will make sure to share it with a ton of places as
You
well.
will.
So,
Thank you. That would be
Yes.
wonderful.
And
Yeah,
if you wanna
I'll make sure. I guess I'll put it in the. Maybe I'll put it in the group.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
And like the women in horror.
I do the
Yeah.
thing.
If you want to come on Hellbent at some point as well, Hellbent for Horror,
Yes.
to talk about some stuff, I'd love to have you on.
That would be awesome. All of those things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and
All of
Adam,
the things.
Adam, same thing.
All of the things.
Allie, not so much. No, I'm kidding.
No, I get it. I haven't seen as much. It's totally fine.
No,
No.
Allie
Allie,
and
I love you.
Allie and I have been kicked out of the club. We're gonna go watch movies
And I-
together.
I
We're
wanna
gonna
talk-
go watch like
I want to talk the documentary, especially. And
We're gonna go watch rom-coms.
dare you.
So I stopped the recording, but we can hang out. What I wanted to say, Adam, is I want to talk at some point about the
Nothing, we're gonna get
documentary that
really
you're doing.
crazy.
Yeah.
And especially because I knew someone who said that they were doing a documentary about that film about a year or so ago.
Yeah, was it Nick Hunt?
Yes, Nick.
Yeah,
Hunt.
no.
We're still
Okay.
on
Yeah.
Facebook. Though.
Nick was. Are we still on Facebook?
No,
Yeah.
we
Are you sure?
It
Because
says
it says live.
on Facebook.
we're off record. Oh, okay. I have to end the meeting, so
Okay.
we're no longer recording. But if you want, I'll start a new meeting if you want. If you want to talk about this, if you don't want to talk about, that's fine.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let the people see.
We are.
Let them see it all.
Nick was helpful to start things off, and then that ended.
Okay.
Basically.
All right. Fair
But
enough.
Nick's the guy who first came to me about it, and then my estimation on it was because Nick wanted to direct the movie, and I was like, dude, you've never directed anything before. I'm not giving you my life rights. It's not happening.
Right.
Just-
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's someone that came on my show on the premise that he was creating a film, and he had a 2-minute thing, and it was a very uncomfortable conversation by the end, and I was like,
Yes, he has a habit of doing that. But he introduced me and Adam, so
Yes.
you know what? Like
We owe him tremendously because
all of the good things.
Oh, I'm
Yes,
sorry. I didn't
'cause-
realize that's what we were talking about. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, because Allie is
Shouldn't have pressured.
really no joke. Allie's one of the strongest production minds I've ever known.
Oh, thank you.
It's just true, and that would not have happened had Nick Hunt not introduced us to each other. So
Totally random Facebook interaction. Crazy, but
sometimes the best things come out of that.
Amazing.
Exactly.
It was amazing.
that and chlamydia, both.
Also chlamydia, yes.
So
Always sounds like a nice flower. I've never understood. That's like the worst named.
Chlamydia.
Yeah.
Can I
Chlamydia.
give you a bunch of chlamydia, please?
This is like
run down a list of STDs.
this is like an old Monty Python album, the Contractual Obligation album. They had this one track called "Are You Embarrassed Easily," and it was them just saying words like grunties.
Or Dr. Demento. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, yes.
Oh heck
yes.
yeah,
I
Love
that
Dr.
guy.
Demento.
awesome.
Awesome, wonderful.
We could do like the Howard Stern show, couldn't we? Do you know where they did it on that film that he did? Sort of like you tried to say sort of like something, but then it goes the other way. Have you seen it? That one?
No.
No.
Because of the censor on the radio show, they weren't allowed to say certain words, but they did it in a certain way that they got over it, the censor. That reminds me of this moment. So like, can I give you a bunch of chlamydia, please? And stuff like that.
I guess that's the cool thing. We can say whatever we want.
I'll try and find, all that is, I'll inbox Adam the YouTube link, I think, and then it's so funny. Then he can send it to you guys.
I totally will.
That would be awesome.
I love
Sounds
it.
absolutely great.
I'm on Adam's friends under Kerry Yates if anyone wants to friend me after this.
Yes.
Oh yes. Please. I love all connections. Like I said before, the passion is what I just kind of get jazzed by. And I get to talk with people who are just really into it in a way that they're compelled to do this. They're compelled to go through all this shit that it takes to do anything. And and it's joyous. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Really, this has been a real pleasure.
Thank you guys. This is so much
wonderful.
fun.
Yeah, it
This
really
was a lot of fun.
You guys had a great sense of humor for it, and that's what I think really made it. So thanks. You guys take care. Get some rest.
Yes, I'm gonna go.
And good luck tomorrow with Break a Leg with the film being open. So that's
break a leg, Jenna.
That's awesome.
I'll put it on the Facebook.
Yes.
Awesome.
Facebook. So you'll see.
Share it on all the social media.
I am me. Send me the link. I'll put it on my website.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Send it to the internet.
All right, y'all.
Take care, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.